I'm
just going to go ahead and get started because it's What's Up. Hi, everybody. Before we get started, I just want to remind everyone that this episode is brought to you by patrons like Aga Comics, Qua, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Denton, Nestor Flores, Sodasan0424, and VideoGamer75. And if you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episode early and lots of other goodies, and it'll really help us out. Thanks for your support, everybody.
Thank you.
It's a really good one. All right, I'm going to futz with my mic arm for half a second. I'll get that all balanced out. Let's tighten that up. Okay, I think that's a good, comfortable sound range. Anyway, hi, here. Welcome to What's Up.
Yes, it is What's Up. So, how do we want to start this off? Like, I have a couple things that I want to talk about. I have a couple things that we probably have some contention over.
Well, yeah, so, I don't know. I need to log into FGO right now because the race is just finished. So I figure, hey, guess what? Last week's episode, which was called Gacha Juggling, did really well. For What's Up. Like, super huge. So why don't we start at the gacha point? Because you also said the episode we recorded yesterday, but God knows, well, it'll go live tonight. For once, we're actually doing a Let's Talk FGO. We're doing a What's Up after Let's Talk FGO that's not public yet, which is weird. But it'll go up tonight at midnight because it was super long, dude.
We like talking.
Yeah, and we had a lot to talk about. But there, we alluded multiple times to the next day on What's Up, we would talk about gacha stuff. So
yeah. Well, I guess first off, I mentioned this back on Let's Talk FGO, and I'll repeat it here. Before, Lucky was playing, like, he had, like, 6 gacha games on the mind, and he's brought himself down to 3. I know I said 5 yesterday, but I've decided I'm gonna just drop Grand Blue Fantasy as well, because I don't play it, maybe sometime in the future, but right now I'm just like, I'm not gonna think about it anymore. So I have dropped Grand Blue Fantasy, Magia Records, and Girls Band Party, also known as Bandori. I didn't drop any of them because they're bad games. I still enjoyed them all. I just don't have enough time to be playing all that gacha game. Like, this is something I've been noticing. Time, like I only dedicate so much time to gacha games a day. And I realized that trying to split, like, that little bit of time between me, like, working on the computer, doing other stuff, watching TV, you know, like, futzing about on the internet, reading and all that stuff, it's like, it kind of bugs me, especially since a lot of these gacha games are, like, always rapid fire with their events.
Their games
like,
as a service model. You know, they have to keep hitting you with updates, otherwise they don't get your money.
Honestly, bless Girls Frontline for this, because I think they're, like, one of the only ones that actually give you, like, solid breaks between stuff.
And also they give you a lot of time. Like, earlier today, I was like, oh, shoot, I forgot last night. I didn't actually do the new map. I unlocked a new map with intel points. I didn't do a new one. But then I was like, wait, I have 17 days left in this event. Like, obviously I need to pick up the pace, because there's 17 parts, and I've previously been doing, like, 1 map a day, just because I've been focused on other stuff. But I'm like, I can let this rest. This'll take a while. It'll be here for a bit. Whereas
even their hardest dick maps are like, yeah, no, you got like at least a month. You got like a full month to do this, and you're like, okay, cool.
Because like the summer for FGO is pretty long, but it's 2 parts, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And AL's current event will end in like 4 days. I still haven't beaten all the maps. Rip me.
I'm not even bothering. But yeah, like in FGO, honestly, you can consider like Summer 1, Part 1, and Part 2 separate events because they each have their own separate, I guess you can consider it a separate, rate-up banner. Each have their own event currency, different shops, and you can access them.
Yeah, it's just that you get a little bit more leeway with the first part, because it, lasts the whole time.
But,
by the way, if anybody's curious about our immediate commentary, I just saw it, HTE came in first place, and second place was Shooting Star, third place was Desert Beauty. This is the final race, too, so those are our final scores, I guess? I don't know. It's probably going to show me a graphic in a second. That's one thing I kind of don't like about this event, is there's a lot of, like, bonus graphics and animations, which my phone sometimes doesn't like.
Honestly, I don't like the fact that they keep, like, I guess we should have mentioned this, but when the race ends, you have to tap through every single racer, and I'm just like, I don't need all this.
Well, yeah, kinda. Like, right now, it's auto-playing all the finalists, but yeah, if you wait till literally everybody finishes...
Yeah, you have to go through.
They autoplay. They do autoplay, but they go in like all in sequence. I have literally just finished it. Wow, it looks like HTE won by like 30 minutes. But yeah, it's a little bit of an asset hog. But we're going to talk about things taking amounts of time, and we may have differing opinions actually in a second. But Do you have anything you want to say about why you decided to drop those games?
Well, the main reason why I kept the 3 that I am is because I've dropped a fuck ton of money in them.
Right, sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah, so, of course, number 1 is, Girls Frontline. Please, tune in to this week's episode to understand why this happens. And the other 2, Girls Frontline and Azur Lane, I've at least bought 1 pack of each set, probably a few more on Girls Frontline.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I want to clarify. Lucky said Girls Frontline there twice. The first one should have been FGO.
Oh, my bad. Word.
Okay. I understood you.
And honestly, like, it's just with and also, just with time invested in it, like, Azur Lane and Girls Frontline, I got, like, high-level teams to do stuff. The other 2 games, it's like, I'm doing alright, I'm, like, middling ground. And, again, with, like, no money put into it, it's actually quite easy just to, cut it off and call it, yeah, no, it's good. So, there's that. Did I say there was another reason yesterday? I can't remember. I don't think so.
Well, the other thing was, like, pacing-wise, I know a lot of people have been complaining about Magio Record. Just because it's so breakneck.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, like, just today in our Discord, they've already announced the next event while they're in the middle of the one that just got announced. It's like, please stop.
It's a little too fast. A little too fast. This is why we told people that catching up on FGO was crazy.
Yeah.
You'd never have any time to do anything.
I got Birmingham. Yay. I'm gonna lock that shit.
Cool. I don't know if you saw it, but I just got Baltimore earlier today.
Like,
I know there's an anniversary raid with Taiho coming up, so I'm like, oh, do I still want to spend 3 a day getting the extra stars, or do I want to hoard? I think I want to hoard.
I think I might start. I wanted Baltimore, but I already got Alabama and Birmingham, so I'm like, maybe I don't? I don't know.
Yeah, well, if our local expert Panda is accurate, they're going to come back later. So these are going to be permanent ads later. We don't know when, but they will be. So
yeah, I think I'm going to hold off then.
That's fine. Like, I really wanted, like we said before, I really wanted Baltimore because she's cool, and Alabama's a little cool, and also, other reasons. But Baltimore's just real neato in this event.
If that's the case, I'm just going to stop with the cube spending and start hoarding. Because, like, I think, honestly, like, I've been thinking about this a bit. I'm going to, like, Ironblood and the Vicia Dominion is, like, my jam. I think I might just start hoarding just for when they get events.
That's fair. And honestly, we've talked about this before. AL lets you use so few ships, you almost want to specialize like that.
Yeah.
Because, like, aesthetically, everybody's got their themes, and sometimes it's so much work to catch up. And there's so many nonsense, useless ships that are like, oh, look, you have no offense to the artists and the actresses who portray these, but, like, you can tell when they put their budget certain places, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, you have U.S. Destroyer design number 1, and you don't do anything interesting mechanically. Your look isn't any different than the other 5 million blue destroyers I have, so did I really need... Like, I have yet to do the thing where I unlock a ship I only have 1 copy of and burn it, because usually you make enough gems you can expand your real estate. But I think if I had to do that, I could. I could probably find a couple of ships that I'm like, I've literally never leveled or used these ships, and I don't care. They can go.
Yeah. So, like in other words, like I said, I'm gung-ho with my Ironblood and Vicia Dominion ships. I don't have a single... None of my Ironblood or Vicia Dominion ships are under level 80. Like, most of them are actually level 100, with my main fleet being over 100. Oh wait, no, I take that back. My lowest level ship is level 74, and that's Z18, who was the login reward for July.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a couple. My Royal and my Eagle Union fleets are pretty good. They've got a couple that are over 100. They're broken, but there are others that are restricted. Like Like, I'm playing a little bit meta. I mean, I do actually like Minneapolis, but also I've heard that, like, she's really good at higher difficulty stuff, so I'm like, I'll put her in there, but now she's capped at level 90, you know, and I'm like, God damn it, I need more bullets. Always need more bullets. But yeah, I've got some decently leveled fleets, and luckily, like, while I do slowly want to progress through story stuff, most events are not super hard by default. You can play the harder level if you have higher level units, and sometimes that's a little bit more efficient for gains, but if you have time, you can just keep going, which I'm okay with. I'm like, that's fine. I'm okay with this. I'm okay being a scrub.
Yeah, no, I've kind of hit on, like, as I said, like, Lucky's a filthy casual. He does not have the sweet strats or gains to really progress, but I think I'm still, like, chapter 10, I want to say?
Yeah, you're still ahead of me. I'm still more in the middle of 9, but that's just because I haven't had time to work on it. And once again, like I said this before, I still haven't done my great reorg of my gear and stuff. I've got loads of gearboxes and shit lying around.
Yeah, that's another thing I've been trying to work on. I just because it matters. It really does matter.
No, like, that was the thing I realized when people were talking to me, which was like, oh, have you been keeping up in your gear levels? I'm like, well, I do a little bit, but I guess I've never put through the dedication that, like, no, dude, you need some plus 10s. I'm like, oh, okay, if I really need them, then yeah, sure, I'll do it. Like, there's a little bit of, like, efficiency and certain stuff works best with certain ships, but just in general, if you put useful equips that matter on your ship girls and you level it all the way up and it's high rarity, you'll, usually get the effectiveness you need.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you want to go whole hog on, like, here's the ultimate meta equipment, you've farmed for 10 hours straight to get these drop parts, you can. Or you can just be by me and go, like, Belfast has a skill to make high explosive rounds do more damage, right? Which one of these gold guns do I have that is high explosive? That works. That sounds like a good idea.
I'm even, like, more stupid with mine. Do you know how I give my girls equips? I line up their, the faction sheeps with their faction boxes.
Hey, solid. I think that actually is, like, a thing, like, you're using your own faction's gear is more efficient or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
But I like it. Honestly, because for one, it helps me keep down my, actually, I don't know if it's even better or not. It's just something, it's one of those weird tics I have. I'm like, yes. German ships shall equip German weapons. Oh, excuse me, not German ships shall equip not German weapons. Honestly, what's with, Germany and, like, in the term Iron Blood? Like, everywhere I look, it's like, Iron Blood, Iron Blood, Iron Blood. I'm like...
I think it was actually a thing that went for.
Yeah.
Blood and iron kind of thing.
Because I see it a lot in, like, a bunch of, like, alternative history. Especially when you have, like, Western Europe. Like, generally the German analog will usually have something like Iron Blood or Steel Blood.
Yeah, I think it's just, like, an actual, like, historical thinking about their terminology. But no, you're right. In 7th C, the German analog is Eisen, which is iron. That's literally just the German word for iron.
In your analog, it's Stahl, which is steel.
Yeah, that thing I wrote once.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that was inspired by that. So yeah, it's very much like I don't know. It's just what people do. So.
Yeah. So like right now, you might be hearing it a little bit through when I'm talking, but I'm playing Azure Lane right now because
I was playing AL before, but now I'm very quickly checking in with FGO to wrap up because this will give me my permanent Ishtar finally.
Yay!
Hooray!
But
huzzahs.
like honestly, like what I've noticed is I'm not real too keen. Like I want to say not too real keen, but I'm not none that real plus to actually like give a damn about this event. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, lots of people are... I think it's because we know that we've got, like, a whole month worth of anniversary stuff coming, and it's just like, it's alright. It's a thing.
Yeah, like, I want to get through it, get the story question mark.
Some of the stuff happening in the second half of the story is really interesting. First of all, this is one of the few events that's a serious event where, like, the commander is a character. You are actually in the scene having, like, internal dialogue and stuff, which is interesting. And something terrible is probably going to happen to you, which is going to make Enterprise really edgy at the end. I haven't gotten to the final map, but...
Me neither.
There's a big cyclone, and there's some sirens. You're hearing some shit in your head, and they're making you fight cheap shadow clones of... This explains why there are so many, in events, there are so many mobs based off of other fleets. It's they're cheap siren clones.
Yeah, this is something they mentioned. I feel like was actually explained a bit better in this event. Is the Mirror Seas is actually like this alternate dimension thing that ships get trapped in.
Yeah,
and they have to fight their way out of.
And
again,
the sirens are like from there, and they have their own weird stuff, but also, like you said, they have non-humanoid types, which explains all their weird analogs they use as mobs and stuff, and why you sometimes have to fight copies of other ships, and there are so many copies of other ships. It's like, no, literally, there are like it's their equivalent of shadow servants, right? Is just, oh, these are just weak, cheap copies with no personality.
Okay. So again, like, I appreciate this event for giving me a little bit more to work with the whole lore. But again, it's just like, because I guess this would be a good time to transition, because my heart and soul right now is in Girls Frontline.
Well, yeah, so I wanted to actually get you to talk about the Girls Frontline event because, well, for two reasons, really. One, you have actually been a bartender,
yep.
And B, you've also actually played Valhalla, the game this is collabing with. Because to me, and I shared this with the sentiment with some other people who play, in our server, that like, so for me, on the one hand, I like that they're clearly trying to they're trying to show off what the thing they're collabing with is like, right? They're trying to elucidate what is the format for Valhalla. That's cool. On the other hand, goddamn, is there a lot of dialogue you have to work through to play this, and on my Gun Girl phone game, which already, I feel like we've talked about splitting time, it already feels like it takes a lot of time to do. I'm just like, oh my god, just let me make you drinks so I can play maps. I don't have all day. So go ahead with how you feel about it, because obviously we feel differently.
Yeah, so, I fucking love this event. I really do. Because as someone who's played, Valhalla, which is also known as VA11 Hall A, cyberpunk bartending action, it's like, it really hits close to home what the, game is about, which is, let us mix drinks and change lives. It is literally something that is said basically at every bartending segment. And I can understand what you mean by, being very wordy, but, like, I feel like the wordiness is honestly because they're literally trying to set up an entirely new setting from the get-go. Like, they even preface the whole thing with, some of these things, in this event are going to be the same as used to, but other things are not. And you realize that there are literally 3 separate storylines going on here at the same time, and they're trying to give attention to all of them. Like, so a little bit of a spoiler here. I'm not gonna, go fully into it. But what's happening on the battle maps is one timeline. What's happening in the cafe is a separate timeline. And then there's an entirely third timeline that I'm not gonna, like, fully spoil, because I said, Megan, you say you're not completely through it, right?
Fuck no.
Yeah. Like me, I blew through it. I'm done with it. I'm farming fucking chicken breast trying to get a fucking limited drops. I've done it like 18 times already.
Yeah, like I said, I had to like kind of like figure out my timeline, so I'm like, oh shoot, I need to like, I want to do a little bit every day, but I need to put this on the back burner because I have more time to do it and I have less time to do other stuff. So
yeah, so because like when you think about it, Girls Frontline in general, it's a very talky game.
It is, yeah.
Because, like, as I said, one thing that I do appreciate about Girls Frontline is its really, really strong story. It's very
well, and honestly,
it's a military drama, I almost want to say.
Yeah, and also, it also does very good representations of its characters. This is something we've talked about AL having a problem with, right? Where it has huge tone swings, where, like, 1 minute you'll go from, Bismarck is using her forbidden powers to shoot giant red laser beams and destroy everybody, to Bismarck is very timid about inviting Tirpitz to a party. And it's just like...
Cute, but mood swing.
Yeah, no, that's a severe shift up, and there's not really a good in-between phase. It's just, in story stuff, we're a fucking hardcore World War II movie with possibly an alien invasion at the end. And then in, like we've said, in like not event stuff, but like the general events, like parties, celebrations, and stuff, we're super relaxed and laid back and like, woo, we're gonna have friendly bonding times and awkward conversations and be adorable. And I'm like, okay, this is, like you said, these are cute or these are dynamic, but man, do they switch back and forth. Characters in Girls Frontline are the characters, you know? Like,
and here's the crazy thing, like, Girls Frontline does have those lighthearted moments, but they're all locked behind costume. Which is something I don't like. I really don't like.
Yeah, the fact that you can't get certain vignettes until you get certain costumes in the cafes, I'm like, oh, look, whenever I go into a cafe, I, like, tap the icons because I forget what they do every 2 months, and I'm like, oh, what's this? Oh, it's the picture book. Oh, look at all the things I can't do because I don't have these costumes.
Yeah, and so, like, they do have those lighthearted moments, but, like, in the main game, it's, like, almost always one tone. And their, like, events, aside from, like, their big events, they don't have actually any story. It's just like, here, do a thing, get up a thing.
No, arguably, in that case, the story in the events is you can unlock these special costumes, which are seasonal, and get, like, get your little interludes and things with what they're doing.
Yeah. Like,
but we've talked
like,
about how, unfortunately, it's Girls Frontline is a little money grubby with its costume gacha.
Yeah. So, like, back onto the event, like for one, I forgave, like, I'm not gonna lie, the first part was super talky, but I feel that's okay because, one, they were trying to establish the setting. It's a brand new setting, they're trying to introduce characters, they're trying to introduce locations, they're trying to, introduce factions, relationship dynamics, history. They're trying to do that all in basically one big swoop so that they can streamline through the rest of it. At the same time, they're actually trying to tell their own story, which is why they needed all the setup at the beginning. So, excuse me. So, like, because even the characters from, Valhalla in this game are not the same characters that they are in Valhalla. Like, have you met the, Prime Minister yet? I can't remember.
I don't think so. I'm only on 3 out of 17 maps. Or segments, whatever. God. I'm super early.
I don't know if I want to spoil this. I think I should.
Just go for it, because like that's the thing is the events lost me a little bit already with how dense it is, and like you're trying to juggle stuff. So just tell me stuff.
Yeah. So basically, the Prime Minister Dorothy, is a Lilim, which is basically like this small looking, like kind of, well, not very small, but this is basically a android's technically not the correct term, but I'm just going to use this, but is an android based for recreation and entertainment. In this event, they really never touch on it, but in the original Valhalla, the Lilim Dorothy, who's a character you can buy and is a sex worker. She looks like she's 14 and she's a sex worker. And those are one of the things you like touch on in the game, like with her dealing with her clients and stuff. And so, like, going from that, it's like, oh no, she's just a Lilim that got elected to Prime Minister and, a little crazy. These are the things that they're changing up in the game, and, they need a little bit of time to, like, explain what's going on.
Yeah, and some of that might also be because this is a game that was put out originally in China, which is, as we know, has some, government censorship, so that's probably a thing that the Chinese government did not want a phone game to touch on.
Yeah. But the second point for why it's so wordy, like, I think it was a nice touch to change the cafe into, the bar. Like, I really wish I had the money to throw tokens to get that fucking entire, dorm set, because it is, that's what's on the gacha. But I can't. But, like, honestly, like, this is the one thing I did find a little weird. I find it, like, because I didn't read the whole big how to play this event thing, because
that's another thing that was, like, on the one hand, good on English, Girls Frontline for throwing all this info out there over, like, the past couple of weeks before the event started. On the other hand, holy shit, there's a lot of notes for how to do this event. Like, I was actually lost a little bit, because I didn't pay too deep attention, and, like, fuck, where do I get intel points? And it's like, oh, there, you gotta go to the cafe. That's what the little thing is. I'm like, oh, duh, I'm dumb.
Yeah, see, I was a little bit luckier. I noticed the bottle on the dorms. I'm like, what's happening? Can I touch that? Go in the dorms. Like, no. It's like, all right. Well, let me go press this. And I saw the bottle on the cafe. I go to the cafe. I'm like, oh. So I was fortunate in that regard. But yeah, that was a little weird. But again, I do like it because at the cafe, you get to the honest crux of what Valhalla was. Is, again, let's make drinks and change lives. And which the entire game is you mixing drinks and talking to people. Like, that's it.
Which is what I said. I'm like, I feel like they're very strongly selling me on Valhalla as a game, but for purposes of the turn-based strategy kind of stuff, I'm like, man, I have to do this before every map in addition to all the map story is kind of like, ooh, that's a bit of a chug, guys.
Like, I honestly kind of wish that they had let you do all the cafe parts at once.
Yeah, I think that would have been better if it was like, so there's 2 steps and you can do them individually, you can play maps and you can do bar stuff and they kind of like overlap somewhere.
Yeah, but the fact that because every map required 100 intel points and you always get 100 intel points from the cafe. So
yeah, it's a very weird mechanic. Like they're trying to like trick you into thinking you need to do something different. No, it's literally 100 every time. It's fun.
Yeah, so it's just like, I don't agree, but again, like, the cafe itself, its story as literally Jill, who is the bartender, talks to T-dolls and, talks to them about being a T-doll and how that makes them. Like, you talk to, what's 417's actual name in, it's like is it G28? Anyway, fucking, 416's little sister.
That'd be what? They call HKGR, I think, and it's 417.
Like that. Yeah,
the later model. That would make sense if she's little sister. She would be the next model.
Yeah, but like one of the things is, I think one of the earlier ones is it's like it's 417 coming in talking about what family is. It's like because of how they're made, they treat other gun models which are in like the same production as family. And it's something that's kind of forced on them, and Jill's talking about, like, how do you, like, feel about that connection being forced? Does that make you happy? They get into a lot of existential, like, philosophy.
Right, and that's actually a really cool thing to talk about in life, because, hey, guess what? In real life, you can't pick your family either, except you can, because there's a big thing with people, like, the difference between family of chance and family of choice and all that.
Yeah. And, 417 is, like, she's literally wired to treat 416 as a sister, but she's okay with that because it still makes her happy. And it's like, Jill's like, is it okay to be happy if it's forced? And 417's like, yeah. And you're just like, oh. And that's like the crux. Oops, I just like banged my own mic. Because I'm wildly gesticulating people because I'm excited about this.
You banged on the table for emphasis. You banged on the bar for emphasis.
And like that's the crux of what Valhalla is about. It's people talking to Jill giving her own insights, and them going kind of in the back and forth about it as they talk about various life, and things. Like, as I said, like, Valhalla is not a game that, like, I was actually considering, like, do I want to stream this for people? So people who maybe do not, like, because I know, like, Omega, you haven't played it. It's like, if
not
I could
yet.
Stream it.
It's on my list.
I could stream it for you and can see it, but at the same time, Valhalla is a game it has multiple quote-unquote endings. It's one of those games you can only play once, Like, once you've gone through
we've talked about this before, where there's a unique experience.
Yeah. So, like, and also, like I said, the game, it's not voice, so it's a lot of text reading. And
which is another thing I think for Let's Plays and stuff we've talked about before. Like, me personally, for instance, I actually, because I read very well and very quickly, I actually really hate where Let's Players, A, insist on reading every line of dialogue in a visual novel type read, and B, especially if they insist on doing stupid voices for it. Hi, every Game Grumps playthrough of a visual novel ever. Like, it's like, I see them doing, like, Phoenix Wright right now, and I'm like, ooh, they're doing a lot of these episodes, and it sounds like they're having a lot of fun, but that means I gotta deal with Aaron doing a stupid voice for literally everyone, and even if it's bad, he won't let the joke go. Because that's like, You know, that's what happens when you start something and you do big batches. You're like, we're stuck in the joke now. We have to do it.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know, because, and then the other part of that, if I'm not voicing anything, there'd just be big tracks of silence while I make small comments here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as I said, Lucky does not have the formula for comedy or entertainment down. Lucky is just Lucky. Sometimes I'm funny, sometimes I'm cringy, and, like, I don't really know how to control it. So, I was like, I don't know. Because I did download it, because I do own it. I fucking love it. It's actually in my Steam favorites, because it's amazing. And I was playing it, I'm like, because I wanted to actually get a feel. It's like, yeah, do I actually want to stream this? I'm like, it could be fun, but at the same time, could not. Because again, like, it's a lot of reading. The only action is making drinks, really. And later, and as you make drinks, you make money and use that to up to pay rent and buy knickknacks for your house. So I'm like, for like, an
I bet there
entertainment
would be a audience for it, but the question is like, how does that, you know, does that mesh with our normal audience? That audience, you know, how do people feel? That's something you guys should give us some feedback on, because when Lucky polled, people were overwhelmingly, don't keep playing Shovel Knight if it's kicking your ass, find a new game. So
yeah, this
is one of those times where feedback is important.
Yeah. So that's why I've been considering trying to find a new game and stuff. So, like, I can understand, like, that's why I was a little miffed with people talking about, like, it has so much text. I'm like, but then, I have to consider, like, a lot of these people, I feel like, in our Discord, like, who were talking about it, didn't actually play Valhalla, so they didn't have necessarily that experience to draw upon, because, like, as I said, the actual Valhalla game is literally nothing but texting and bartending. Oh, also, Omega, I actually you did mention this, that me bartending, do people actually...
Yeah, I wanted to get your real life experience. Like, how many people want to just sit at the bar and jaw with you versus just give me a fucking drink?
Honestly, it depends where the bar is. Oh, wow. My major my major bartending experience was in a casino, and most of the time,
so you're super prepared for this upcoming summer event in Las Vegas, huh?
Oh yeah. So when you bartend in a bar, it's a little bit different, because most people, because the casino's trying to get people drunk enough to want to go and spend more fucking money.
Right, that's why you usually get complimentary drinks or cheap drinks yo, keep drinking, keep gambling. Yeah. But I will say, the casino I was at, it had several bars. It had, let me think here, actual bars. It had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It had 6 bars in it. A couple of them were sports bars. One was like a cabana, which, was like a cigar lounge. A couple were just in the club. But there was one bar in particular that I feel like matches this. It was called the Corner Bar. It was literally this little bar, tucked way back in the back, hidden behind a whole bunch of big machines that a lot of people would kind of miss if they weren't looking for it. It was one of my favorite places to bartend because it was actually kind of quiet and chill. The cigar lounge was quiet and chill too, but the way it was put is as soon as you walk into the casino and take a left, you would see it. So people are like, oh, there's a bar, let me go get a drink. But the Corner Bar is definitely that place where people who want a quiet chat or not to go. And depending on, once people usually get a couple drinks in, they want to start talking. Most of the time, it's nothing like fucking soul searching like Valhalla is. But people do want to talk, because people do want, people want to, list their gripes and their concerns, and they want someone to listen to. Want someone to listen to, and guess what? That was my job. That's I give them a drink. If no one else needed a drink, I would hang out by the bar, chat with them a little bit. They'd start unloading on me, and, I would nod, and I give my little bit of 2 cents every here and there. Honestly, I don't think I've ever said anything enough to change someone's life. But I'm pretty sure I have, de-stressed a couple of people, from, their everyday woes. Maybe might have given a couple people, maybe a free drink or 2 for their worries. So, honestly, it depends more on the person and the bar location. If you go to a club, no one's there to fucking, wax poetic.
that you want to get drink and want to hit the dance floor and grind on somebody.
No, but if you're in like a little hole in the wall, we're tucked into an alley.
Yeah. Like, honestly, like, that's what you, like, get, like, you actually see that a lot in media. It's like, it's always the quiet bar with the well-dressed guy always polishing the glass who has the most wisdom, you know?
Yeah, I was just thinking that, actually. I was going to say, that's your pop culture bar. Like, when you watch cop shows, where all the cops go? They go to a quiet bar with a cool bartender who maybe gives them, oh, I've seen some people, or they're like, hey, what's the word on the street? Give you a nice drink. You have a little something on the rocks, and you're like, okay, gotta go back to work.
Yeah.
And it's raining outside,
honestly,
and the music is low and slow, possibly soulful. All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so, like, honestly, like, when I'm, like, 50 years old, like, that's what I want. I want to own a, I want to own a cafe bar. Basically, morning, afternoon, it's a cafe, but turns into a bar at night. And it'd be completely weeb too. You can't stop me.
Somebody, once again, I'm gonna throw this out there in fan artists. We don't have any, but somebody draw Sojiro, but as a rabbit. That's lucky.
Hoo boy. But
well,
so
I mean, you say that. I know for a fact you have some hoo boy back in my day stories.
I do. But again, so I can understand, like, back to Girls Frontline, I can understand why people think it's a little bit wordy and texty, but I don't think that's actually to the event's detriment so much.
No, I think what it does is it gives you kind of a steep incline.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in real quickly, and I think people who were not prepared for that kind of got blindsided by it.
It's interesting because, at least in English, Girls Frontline has been trying to prep you hard for this event, but I feel like this wasn't covered. They were like, you're going to mix some drinks and talk to people. And I heard that in the EX mode, you have to actually read the text for clues, which is what I was expecting. So I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to have to pay close attention to this. You still probably should read them anyway, but in the normal mode maps, you don't have to. You can just... Guess what? The T-dolls know what they want to order, or they order something, and it gives you the instructions. By the way, some of these are greatly named. Actually, that's another thing in Lucky. Have you ever just had somebody vaguely describe the kind of drink they'd like, and you...
Oh, yeah, like, totally.
Okay. Do you want to
I've actually made a couple drinks like that. It's like, hey, I want something green and sour. And I was like, I can do that. And I gave them a shot of vodka with half a shot of sour apple pucker, and I filled the rest with sweet and sour. And they're like, this is delish. I'm like, fuck yeah, it is.
I don't know. Maybe this is just my social awkwardness coming out, but I'm like, God, I can't imagine. I already have to gird my loins when I go up to a counter and order food regularly. I can't imagine being like, put my hand on the counter, lean back, and be like, oh, gee, I don't know what I want today. I'm like, oh no, why would you drag out the social interaction?
That's the thing about bartending is, once, like, sometimes, like honestly, like, being indecisive, like, at the bar isn't, like, something that I'm, like, and it's because sometimes you go up and you're like, I want a drink, but I don't know what I want. It's like, it's the same feeling as, like, I want to eat something, but I don't know what. It's the exact same feeling. And bartenders, we're supposed to have at least a pretty fair knowledge of what drinks we have and what we're good at. And so we're supposed to be able to give recommendations.
Yeah, it's like chatting with the waiter, like, you're looking at the menu, you ready to order? I don't know, what's good?
Yeah, it's basically that, except for drinks. And as I said, and here's the thing I always tell people, fucking bartending is it's liquid science. It really is. It's like cooking. It's like, I have to mix a whole bunch of things to make it tasty and make it pretty. Because, trust me, if you just start mixing random shit, you're gonna get something weird and brown looking, and you're gonna be like, what? But bartending is a science on its own, because, like, trust me, there's a whole bunch of techniques that I never fully mastered. Ooh. There's muddling, there's, like, putting it in the mixer, like, fucking martinis, it's its own science. It's like, wow.
Well, yeah, so that's the thing. People probably think a martini is simple because James Bond orders one super simply, except in Casino Royale, the first of the new ones, he actually gives you the whole the whole process for making the drink, which is called Vesperlind, which is a whole thing.
Yeah. Like, as I said, so, like, I'm used to making, like, simple and, moderate drinks, but, like, those complicated ones, I'm just like, whoo! But yeah, like I said, but bartending, like, that's why I enjoy it. Like, in Valhalla, it's actually something, they actually do a lot of them where they just say, like, give me something like that and that, and, you have to look through your, bartending manual to, figure out what it is. I do appreciate that, even if they didn't use all the drinks from the game, they still put them all in the game, and they kept all the flavor text.
Yeah, I noticed that. That is something I really liked, because like I mentioned earlier, like, you look up some and you're like, what are some of the names? Like, there's the piano man and the piano woman.
And I remember the flavor text for the piano woman. It was supposed to be, called a pretty woman, but people argued if there was a piano man, there might as well be a piano woman.
I can't think of the names off the top of my head, because I'm not looking at them. But yeah, there are some interesting and fun descriptions in there.
I think my favorite flavor text is 8 out of 10 smug assholes would recommend this drink, except for there being smug assholes. I was like, oh my god, I love this.
That sounds accurate too. You know how people are.
Yeah. Listen, that's all in the main game. Like, the dialogue in the actual game is really good.
Well, that's good, because if it's 100% dialogue...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know it. But
it's 100%.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, like I say, I think on Steam, it's literally overwhelmingly positive on its ratings. Let me check here real quick.
Check right now. I can check if you want to keep talking.
I'm trying to think. Like, see, by the way, right now on Steam, it is $14.99. If you have that $15, you should definitely check it out.
I do technically have $15, but also I have a lot of stuff I'm working on, so maybe not right now.
Yeah. Here it is, store page. Boop, bop, ba-da, boop. And this event, well, actually, if there's something I'm going to talk about, this event store is robust.
Yeah, I noticed there's are there is it 4 or 5 quote-unquote T-dolls, they're characters from Valhalla, in there?
No. Well, yeah, there's 5 or 6. There's 5 or 6 collab characters. Yeah, and 2 of them you can get from, it's 6, because 2 of them you get from the event store, 2 of them you get from the story, and 2 of them are limited drops.
Okay, so there's 2 in the store, and I already got one of them, because that's their usual hook. They give you one for the first map free, and I assume the second one is the last map.
Oh yeah, okay, so by the way here, its release date was June 21st, 2016. Its recent reviews is overwhelmingly positive at 324. All reviews overwhelmingly positive at 12,562. So some people, more people than some, small cities have decided to get up, type, and say, this game is good. What was I saying?
I just realized I don't think I have this in my wish list. That or I can't remember. Where's the 4?
The what?
I'm trying to remember how to fucking spell the name of this game. Where's the lead speak?
Oh, it's VA-11 Hall-A.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah, that's the joke. VA-11 is actually its BTC designation, and it's just located in Hall A.
Alright, there we go. Okay, it was not on my wish list yet, but yeah, I'll put it on there for later use.
Cyberpunk Bartender Action. They're actually making another game, which is not directly connected, but in the same universe, called Nirvana.
I think I've heard of that. Yeah, 2 friends already own this game. It's Lucky Break, who's played 12 hours. Steam's ratting you out. And our good buddy Ron, who has apparently played 0 hours, because he probably bought it on a Steam sale and forgot he has it.
Damn it, Ron! I don't know. Actually, no, I think Ron would like it.
He probably would. It's his style.
Yeah.
He likes that neo-noir kind of shit.
The music's good. The more I think about it, girls, when you think about it, Valhalla is a really tiny game. It's all pixel art. It's mostly text. It's super small. And yeah, it got enough attention that this Chinese company who got all these connections to artists and games were like, hey, yo, we want to collab with this shit. We will, literally redraw all your characters.
Yeah.
Remix your music.
That's a love story I'd love to hear sometime. But honestly, a lot of those small indie style games are really, they capture the imagination, right? We were talking earlier, you played Shovel Knight. That was like that. That was a small team who, split off to make their own thing, and they decided to do it kind of that retro style, and they ended up with a lot of extras and a lot of interesting characters. But it got so far that Nintendo made them a fucking amiibo, right?
Yeah.
Like, Big Daddy Nintendo recognized them. Senpai noticed you, which is a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
Senpai will notice us someday.
One day. Like, words, I have them. It's like, there's a lot of, like, indie games. I think that's, like, the big dream for indie games is when it blows out expectations. Like, this is how it was with Undertale, Valhalla, Shovel Knight. I'm trying to think of some other really big ones.
There's plenty.
Like Limbo and Braid were other like ones.
Yeah,
like,
basically when you're a relatively small studio, you make a relatively small simplistic product, and you basically get rewarded for it. People still like that, which is good. Yeah. I appreciate that both that is marketable and also taste wise, that people can still appreciate a simply made game with simple stuff in it. Stardew's another good example, which is also a game you've played. The other beneficial thing is that often these games are not necessarily super expensive to buy. Unlike AAA games, which, in order to make back the millions or billions of dollars they spent in development, have to sell at full price and include some kind of DLC or post-game monetization scheme. Otherwise, they don't break even, which on the one hand is like, man, that's kind of bad that they have to keep trying to milk more out of the customer. But at the same time, it's also like, they did employ, shitloads of people all over the world to make this.
Oh yeah, Axe, sorry, I just saw your comment here. You're talking about, like, how the main lady is very much not a good person and has connections to, some tonal issues. But here's the thing, especially that I like about in Valhalla is, everyone is a person, and not everyone is a good person. Like, everyone has flaws, everyone's made mistakes, some people might be in, like, other things up to your head.
I feel like we were what were we talking about this lately? Where characters are more human, they have good sides and bad sides. I don't remember, but we definitely mentioned it in something lately. But yeah, so in Valhalla, sorry if I get quiet, I'm leaning away to read my screen as I power through these 4 or 5 story only segments in FGO. But like people have positive and negative sides in Valhalla.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. People can choose. People can choose to play or not to play games.
Yeah.
Which is,
I mean, it's kind of
that's something
great.
I think.
Talking
have we actually talked about that before? That's the thing. I think we've definitely alluded to is both of us are like, yo, you don't need government censorship. You can vote with your wallet, right? It's free speech. You can choose to express yourself, however, but you don't. And if you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. And quite frankly, also, is that an abbreviation or is that the full title of a game? I can't tell.
Yeah.
That's a mathematician's answer. That doesn't help me. Thank you. But we're talking about potentially problematic games. Which, hey, that's okay. Like, if that can be a thing where, like, people in general are like, this game's not great, don't give them money, don't play it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's fair. Like, there are things that make people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So if we're kind of done alluding to or talking about Girls Frontline, it's funny enough that you talked about dropping gacha and about Steam, because I wanted to briefly mention something funny that happened this week, which is where I was it was before I got super busy, but I was kind of bored and I was thinking about Legend of Five Ring stuff, because unfortunately, for the moment, my campaign writing has stalled because they just will not release that next book in PDF, goddammit.
Heck.
Like, they'll get around to eventually, but it's coming to the point where I'm writing about areas that will be directly addressed by the book. I know this because it's out in print, and it's like, I'm gonna buy this book anyway. I really don't want to spend all this time doing, like, research and development and writing, and then just be like, well, now the source book's come out, and it's like, it's gonna be completely different, and it's probably gonna be written better than me, like, trying to find some obscure shit from the 90s, to fill in some gaps, and just, I'm like, it's not worth the hassle. But I checked out, because I remembered, because I was thinking about magic and stuff, and I was, as usual, I talked about this before, while there's plenty of mundane stuff, there's definitely a supernatural edge to the campaign I'm writing. So I was looking at supernatural stuff, I was trying to do some research about some actual historical characters, and I was reminded Oh yeah, isn't there a gacha game about just Japanese mythology? Onmyoji, which is about Abe no Seimei, and I'm like, whatever, what's that on? What's that about? And I looked at some character designs, I'm like, it seems kind of neat. They got some stuff. It's kind of like RPG-like, and I'm like, oh shit, it's on Steam. It's got crossplay between phones and computers, and I'm like, I'll try it. If it's on my computer, that's different. I don't have any gacha games on my computer. I could actually dual wield. So I downloaded it, and then I'm like, since I did that on like Monday or Tuesday, I'm like, shit, I don't have any time to actually boot this up and learn it. So it's sitting on my desktop right now, and I'm like, I'll try it sometime. Someday. Yeah, but for now, the reason why that time is getting slimmer is, well, first of all, thanks to you for shouting me out that Amazon was getting some stock back. But,
yeah.
Amazon's getting their stock of, Three Houses back, so I was like, I looked at it and I'm like, oh, it's, $10 below MSRP. It's already, Amazon's already taken $10 off the full price. I could do that. We all got paid. I'll order Three Houses. They're not going to get it for another week, but I'll lock my order in now before everybody buys it. And then yesterday, Amazon sends me an email. Your package is shipped. It'll be here Sunday. I'm like, shit, I have less time than I thought. Fuck. I'm not done with Breath of the Wild yet.
Thank you, Ant.
Thanks, Amazon.
Amazon, you're boning me with your good service.
Also, I think I tweeted this, but it's like, order something from Amazon. 30 minutes later, Amazon, hey, treat yourself. I'm like, thanks, Amazon. That literally happened. Literally, I got an order confirmation email, and then, like, when I was looking at it, and it was, like, 30 minutes later, they were like, hey, treat yourself. Buy something on your wish list. I'm like, I just did that, Amazon. What do you want from me? But yeah,
Amazon,
so...
as far as that... Like,
Three Houses is in the mail. It will arrive tomorrow. I'm probably not going to start playing it right away, because I'm doing a concerted effort to, beat Breath of the Wild. I'm going to do all the shrines. I'm going to finish all my side quests. Because I'm, like, 3 hearts away from max hearts or whatever, or 4 hearts, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll just do all the shrines and get all the hearts. You actually suggested something I should do. You were like, did you climb the top of Mount Linear? And I was like, no, and I did that. That was cool. That was neat. That was great environmental storytelling, where it was just like, yeah, just climb the mountain, and oh, shit, there's a thing here. Which honestly explains the other 2 things, which I had already done. Well, I'd already done power. I found courage later. You know how I found the Shrine of Courage? I looked at the map, I was like, so here's a section where there's this big river that leads up to a point, and there's no shrines I've discovered in this area. I'm literally just going to go upriver and see if there's a thing there. And there was. God, I love Breath of the Wild so much. The environmental storytelling is great. I've done all the labyrinths now. I did the one island on the south coast that steals all your shit. That was actually really cool. Where it's
I like that one too.
Yeah, you have to like start over from zero again. I'm like, ooh, this is neat. And you have to beat a Hinox. I did like a race thing. I found one shrine quest where a girl has a sexual fetish for guardians, I guess, and she's like, I need guardian pictures, then I can give up my orbs. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll come back to you, lady. I caught a giant horse, which was cool, because they're huge. Also, just me dicking around in Breath of the Wild, the environments are so varied, I love it. Like, especially in the south, they've got like a savanna area with like really tall acacia-type trees, and then you throw a rock and you're in the jungle in Faron. They call it Faron Woods, but you're like, dude, this is a fucking jungle. There's like ancient ruins in here and shit. I just love how distinct it is. They packed a lot of different aesthetics into Hyrule, which actually I like. But at the same time, I'm like, yo, what are all these lands to the north and west? What's that? Because apparently Hyrule is like an Australia subcontinent thing, and there's or not even, you're actually connected by land, it's just you can't cross it. But I also wondered to myself, what if they do that for Breath of the Wild too? What if you leave Hyrule?
Yeah.
Just double the map size, go somewhere else. Pokemon Gold and Silver, that bitch. But yeah, so I'm like, shoot, now I really gotta work on my Breath of the Wild hat, because I know that I can't buy a new game and have it sit unplayed for too long. That'll just bother me. But yeah, so that's my game stuff. So I have not yet tried Onmyoji. I just downloaded it, and I've got 3 houses coming, so.
I'm still might pick up 3 houses, but for those of you who may not know, my birthday's coming up in a couple weeks. And my mom, bless her, because she still likes to spoil her her to-be 32-year-old son. She messaged me, she's like, hey, what do you want for your birthday? And I'm like, video games and anime? And she's like, alright, give me a list. So I literally, like, this is what I did. I was like, alright, I don't want to put too much stuff on here, but I want to make sure my mom has, like, options to choose from, and I'm gonna put things I want. So I put the Caligula Effect Overdose and 3 Houses for the Switch. I put on Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, and Devil May Cry 5 for the PS4. Volumes 3 and 4 of the light novel How to Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, and then the volumes 1 and 2 of the Today's Menu with Emiya Family manga. And, I just did a quick check, and my mom has gotten me the volumes for the manga, the Today's Menu manga, Devil May Cry 5, and the Caligula Effect Overdose. So I was like, alright, so maybe I should still buy 3 Houses for myself, but my mom's also a little weird. She might just randomly decide to buy it later for me. I'm like,
that happens sometimes. You gotta be careful with gifts.
Yeah, gotta be careful. So I'm like, I might hold off. I might hold off till actually past my birthday.
And I'll say this, if people are curious about if I'm gonna try and Let's Play it or stream it, probably not the first playthrough. I know people like the blind runs and stuff, but especially for kind of a tactical game and a game in a series I haven't played in a while, I kind of want to just not stress and learn the game at my own pace and not necessarily have to worry about, being entertaining to people. Also, it's my frickin' Switch, so there is so much time I play popping that son of a gun out undocked and just lying on my bed watching The West Wing and also playing gacha at the same time. I am super future right now. So future. I'm watching digital streaming TV. I'm playing my fucking gacha games on my phone. Remember those things that you used to have to dial with a little knob? And I've got a portable video game console. I've got a Game Boy the size of my face. Actually, honestly, it's a little bit shorter than my forearm, but it's just funny. So I'm like, that's me. While my computer PC usually runs Discord in the background, so I can jump on if anybody has any problems. So I'm a lot of multitasking. So that's another thing that's I'm okay with doing Let's Plays, and I don't mind shorter stuff, but especially I think for tactical kind of games like that, this was one of my problems with VC4, which is a game I really need to go back and finish. But why I stopped doing Let's Plays is because nobody was watching them, and then me playing it meant I had to sit down for so much time at a time, and I had to put a conscious effort into being entertaining while also dealing with the game. And sometimes it worked because the game would constantly try and kick me in the dick. But other times it was just I guess I'm doing stuff. I have no idea if this is entertaining and not, and just kind of, it takes my focus off the game sometimes. We've talked about this. You need a very specific flow to do certain kinds of stuff. Yeah, something, if I have spare time, something I do want to try is, now that I've beaten it, is I do want to try and either record or just stream super casually low quality me playing Ace Combat. Because that's a game I like a lot and I've played multiple times, and just, it's got some interesting stuff in it I think people could see as kind of like an introduction if you haven't seen people play Ace Combat, especially lately. And also, I don't need to think too hard about doing stuff. I can just fly planes and jaw with people.
I gotta check some game releases.
So give me your thoughts. But yeah, also, we're coming up on the Hell Zone.
Yeah, so just a quick reminder.
Borderlands is September for me on console.
September 13th. Outer Worlds is October 25th. Same with the new Call of Duty, Modern Warfare. Actually, I gotta double check on that.
I think I'm gonna wait on Modern Warfare. I'm gonna see what people are saying to see what's actually going on there.
Do we actually want to try and stream day one Death Stranding?
If we were gonna do it, that would be the game to do it. Is get right in there day one.
Yeah.
What date does Death Stranding come out?
Because here's the other thing about especially Let's Play cultures. Is unless you already have a sort of following, you have to do something to basically spark interest immediately.
Yeah, you need to be doing something right as it comes out.
Yeah, that's why I was honestly surprised. When I did Stardew Valley and Shovel Knight, yeah, I wasn't hitting big numbers, but I still got a fair amount of engagement from people, and that actually honestly surprised me, considering they're both such old games.
I think, though, that's what you're talking about, where, first of all, we have a decent pool of subs to pull from anyway, but also, I think it's because we talked about, those are such cult games, those have such iconic following, right? So, people are like, oh, I love Shovel Knight, I want to see Lucky play that, or, oh, I love Stardew Valley, I want to see what Lucky does in that, or, yeah. I've always heard about Stardew Valley, but never pulled the trigger myself, kind of thing.
Yeah. But so but other games we're saying even if they're good games like Okami,
yeah, I will. Hey, heads up! I will stream the rest of Okami I will go back in time and stream it again if people actually watch those videos that are on our channel.
Yeah.
So people will never do that. I never have to worry about that. Maybe when we're together, we can buddy cop Okami, but otherwise, because I fucking love Okami, honestly, it's re-released all the time, too.
Honestly, I feel like, again, I feel like once we can actually consolidate, we will literally hit the next level and production values so much. It's just, getting to that point is a fucking...
Yeah, it's a bit of a hump. But also, that's because, you talked about this, we can have a hook. We can have a reason, which is, we can do kind of because Game Grumps do, retro or trash games all the time, and their ethos is, one, they have an audience, they have a huge audience, but also, they have the dynamic, right? They have the back and forth, which is what people are there for. People are there for the Grumps themselves kind of bouncing off each other, and then you see them interact with the game, so you're like, oh shit, they're gonna finally play Twilight Princess. I can't wait to hear Aaron shit on this game, and Dan be excited. And that's that.
Oh yeah, Just Cause 91 actually mentions, I saw Lucky play Stardew Valley and bought it on PC and clocked in more than 100 hours. So, good Civ. So, that's definitely one of those moments you're talking about. It's like, oh, I'm gonna watch this other guy play it and see if I like it for myself.
Yeah, and we got over 100 views on all of your Stardews, basically. Yeah. Shovel Knight dropped off a little bit after the first one, but some of that might just be because we stopped making them and they were kind of fast. So, that's one thing I've noticed is when you get a little bit of engagement and you get a little bit of repetition, algorithms will get a hold of something. Mm-hmm. As an example, a couple weeks ago, I did a couple of Star Wars Legion videos that were breaking news, but they weren't being super hot on YouTube until a couple of days after they came out. I got a couple of comments on them, and I responded to some of the comments, which makes the engagement tick up higher. And then suddenly they jumped up 50 views. So, there's definitely some YouTube behind the scenes. It's oh shit, people are actually interacting with this video. That must mean people want to see these videos. Thus, we will show these videos to people. Ta-da! It's an interesting whole thing.
So I'm thinking probably next month when the fucking Part 2 Summer Banner isn't screaming in my face and compelling me to burn more money on it, I will try and pick up an Elgato USB recording device so I can get it up to my PS4. By this time, I'm probably not gonna, unless, I get a lot of, at that point, I'll probably take some feedback, because I'll have some new games. I'll have, Devil May Cry. I might pick up, Three Houses. I don't think I'm gonna stream the Caligula Effect, because...
No, that's another thing that's something where we definitely want other people, right? Because we need to be able to, otherwise, I believe it's Persona styled, where, most of it's visual novel, and then it's RPG grinding, so, I want us to do, it'll probably be Royal at that point, but I want us to do, a definitive on our channel P5 playthrough because we love that game so fucking much. But I would not start a new one solo and just stream it, right? That would be a lot of hours I would have to put in, a lot of hours people would have to watch, and just, I don't know if I could carry that myself, just me constantly reading the dialogue and also grinding in Mementos and stuff. We would probably not necessarily stream P5, but maybe go for a Let's Play style where we can okay, we're gonna sit down and record for 30 minutes and then we'll edit out a little bit of the front end and kind of break it up, and so off camera we can punch mobs, which is a very important part of any JRPG, is just grinding. Yeah.
So
also, again, to post some saucy tweets and hella not safe for work, because as everybody knows, it's happening now soon. It's Comic-Con 96. So
yep, it is Summer Comic-Con.
There's
actually, I was watching videos
of advertising.
I was watching. Wait, let me make sure this. Okay, it is on my account. I've been watching footage from Comic-Con, not the booths, just the Comic-Con culture. People who go to Comic-Con, they know what's up and they know how to do things. I was watching videos of how the lines form and just people just just becoming this a cogs in a machine and just one mind moving. I'm just this is amazing.
I believe that much like the British, who they love so much, I believe the Japanese are a solid queue culture. They understand how to queue. Americans don't. We're terrible. We're why the fuck is there a line? Get out of my way. I demand service right now.
Yeah. No, they get in line. People are ready. When the line starts moving, everyone moves at once. I'm all this is some hive mind shit going on right now. and I love it. But yes, also there is a lot of
We've talked before that Japanese Twitter has no shame, so there are a lot of porn artists advertising right now. Dude, come to my booth, buy this sweet book.
Again, like, I don't know if I could live fully in Japan, but I would definitely like to, like, make a yearly vacation of it.
Yeah, it's fun to visit.
Yeah. Actually, no, twice yearly, because I want to go to summer and winter. Support us on Patreon, so Lucky can go to Japan on a semi-regular basis.
Hey, that's called vlogging, so that's fine. We just need to get kickstarted. We need to get jump-started, not kickstarted, that means a thing. We need to get jump-started on that, get Lucky a camera so he can go vlog. Because people do that.
It's all like, it's your rabbit on the Japanese streets.
The Japanese people just completely ignore him.
Yeah. I don't know, I am gonna be a big black, well, I don't know. I am gonna be a big black dude.
Are you gonna Gaijin smash?
I'm a Gaijin smash.
Well, by the way, if people don't know about that from the annals of the internet, the original blog Gaijin Smash, which I think you can still find all archived, he doesn't post anymore because he has a kid and jobs and stuff, and just he got acclimated to Japan, so he has less weird stuff to talk about. But you should go back and read those. That started, I think, as I'm an English teacher in Japan, but it's an American guy who is in fact black. Who went to Japan to teach English in, like, middle and high school, and he just had a lot of stories about dealing with Japanese business people, Japanese school children, and stuff, and the name of the blog comes from one article he wrote about Gaijin Smash, which is just the power of foreigners to just break social conventions in Japan, and nobody can get back at you because they don't know how to process this. They're like, there's this huge barbarian breaking the social rules. How do I stop him? It's like, jump a turnstile. They don't stop you. Gaijin Smash. This was the time that was relevant. He mentioned George W. Bush gets Japan to send troops to the Middle East, even though they have a self-defense force. Gaijin Smash.
That's true. Now that I think about
power
it.
Through. Our quote unquote alliance with Japan is very weird if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing. On the other hand, despite the fact that theoretically we were sort of on the same side as the Chinese through that situation, we now are on the same side of the Japanese against the Chinese and the North Koreans because we don't like those guys anymore. Damn you, communism! Actually, that was a big deal that the boss made in Metal Gear Solid 3 was like, today's allies are tomorrow's enemies. As a soldier, you always have to be ready to fight anybody.
To be fair, America does have this history of kind of bullying Japan.
Sure. But also, like, it's interesting that we kind of like, now we're super strong strategic allies with the English after we got over the whole thing with, the revolutionarying. And now we're not as culturally strong as allies with the French for some reason, despite the fact that in the revolutionary era, we were huge allies of the French because we fought against the British, and we may kind of sort of have inspired their whole democratic revolution on their own thing. Just saying, guys.
Yeah.
Do you like freedom?
It's a little weird.
That was America's fault. But yeah, so it's once again, the boss is very true. It's very weird how history turns, Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when you think on a strategic level. Because actually, like, this is something that was bugging me recently. Like, I realized, like, I don't know what the difference between strategy and tactics is. So, I had to go look it up. And, strategy is the overall objective, and tactics is basically on the ground, actions. So think of a strategy as long-term goals and tactics as short-term goals. When you go to long-term goals, you have to, honestly, things just become, honestly, numbers and figures, and real things are, real and personal, so it's a little bit easier to look, yes, this is a new asset we can use. These people who used to be our enemies, but now are our allies.
Yeah, honestly, we as America, that was our move in the Cold War, was like, oh, you're against communism? I literally don't care what else you say about your life. Here's guns and money.
Yeah,
which has come back to bite us a couple of times.
Yeah.
But still, that's definitely, and that's happened in other points in history too, where suddenly you're fighting guys, and then you're like, hey, y'all just want some cash and some food, and we can settle this. And they're like, oh yeah, sure. We need those things to live.
Ooh.
We need these things more than we need your blood. And then you have cultures like the Mongols or the Vikings who are like, no, we're fine stealing the food and money from you and also taking your blood, thanks.
Oof. Big.
Yeah, Christmas in World War I. That's a thing. We've talked about this before with Mages of War, but thematically there's a lot of interesting things about the First World War, which was very horrible and, really game-changing in a lot of ways, strategy tactics. The last, kind of noble war, but also was like people really tried to be kind of personal with each other in a lot of places. Like there was there was Christmas truces and stuff. There was I don't know if it was the first Christmas, but there was a point where like on Christmas Day the soldiers stopped fighting. They got out of the trenches. They exchanged gifts. They played some footy in no man's land. Mm-hmm. And then, they got back to it, and that was just kind of the characterization of the war in parts. And that doesn't really happen anymore. And probably won't ever happen again, because we no longer have to crouch in trenches for days at a time, we hope.
Well, I think it's also because, like, when you think about it, war isn't something that should be taken, honestly, on a personal level.
Not in this day and age, anyway. Yeah. There have definitely been times when information technology was small and you just were like, oh yeah, those assholes are from the next valley. We've literally been fighting them for like 100 years and we hate them forever. Right?
Yeah, those are like more like, well, I guess feuds. They're just really big feuds. But like a lot of war is usually a fight for like ideals. It's usually a fight for ideals or a fight for resource. And usually, like World War 1 and 2 could be said they were wars for ideals. Basically with World War 1, it was a failed assassination attempt, and it just sprung up from there. But people, they got into it. It was like, no, we will like stand this. We will not take this. World War 2, definitely war for ideals. Thanks, Hitler.
Yeah, it got really expansionist, and also Hitler was kind of a douche. Betraying his Russian allies and so on and so forth. But the First World War was like a cascade of treaties. It was like, oh, you're at war with these people? Well, now we've got to be at war with these people. And then part of the kicker was the Germans were like, okay, so we need to defeat the Balkans, but the French are obligated to defend the Balkan states. So first, we're going to go kick the shit out of the French really quick and come back, Austria. And let's just cross through Belgium, which is a neutral country, to do it. And then the British were like, I've seen perfect art of this. Monocle pop. They're like, I'm sorry? You crossed through Belgium? They were neutral. Fuck you very much. It's on now. Which was a bad idea for the Germans because the British Empire at the time was fucking huge. The sun never sets. So that means that the actual British Isles got involved, the Canadians got involved, the Australians, the Indians, parts of Indochina, lots of South Africa, and just, it was a huge thing. And then there was also all the French holdings. Like, that was another thing, is arguably it was one of the last big imperial wars, because, there's still some of that left in World War II, but this was a lot of things where it was a world war because everybody was just everywhere. This is something I exploited heartily for Mages of War, but, theoretically, there are allies and friendlies and neutrals, on every continent. There could be a war front anywhere, just because that's how it was. As you guys know, because you're in the middle of fuck off South Africa still. Because we didn't do any gaming this week. Such busy. But I think it's a good transition, because actually, some people chimed in to remind earlier, but you also wanted to talk about Torchlight.
Yeah, I want to talk about Torchlight a little bit. Again, Onmyoji, Torchlight is basically gonna be my first major DM excursion. And I've been putting a lot of thought into it. But recently, thanks to, some, video game reviewers and me doing a little bit of research, I've been reevaluating what I consider, cosmic horror and whatnot. And the first thing I have learned about cosmic horror is that cosmic horror is fucking subtle. It's fucking super subtle.
Yeah, it can be. If you go back, actually, heck, audience, if you want some examples of cosmic horror, I did some story time with some actual H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah. Yeah, but what I mean by subtle is it's not in the forefront immediately. It's always a build up to what it is. Usually, like, the setting starts off pretty mundane, and then just things start slowly getting weirder and weirder as time progresses. Because the thing about cosmic horror, about these, like, ancient older ones, is that they're so metaphysically massive that you are completely insignificant, in its perspective. And, like, so, like, they should not be, like, be paying, like, direct attention to you or your actions. It's like, those actions, like, their actions should just be, like, them, like, rolling over in their sleep, and that rollover sending fucking, like, ripples throughout, like, whatever universes and stuff like that. No, not exactly like that, but it's kind of the feel you should get. And, like, those ripples be affecting someone, like, in humans, or, like, where you get cultists and all that crazy stuff. Or it could just be something in the mind of a cultist who's just, like, screaming about, like, some older god or something. And as I looked up a few examples, because I said I'm not super familiar with Lovecraft or all that stuff. Like, literally everything most of what I know comes from secondhand knowledge from Omega there. So
yeah,
like,
I'm the guy who owns the complete Cthulhu Mythos by H.P. Lovecraft. So
yeah, so like what I know, I learned from him, and so it's like, all right, well, if I want to do something horror and want to do some cosmic horror, I need to like kind of step back instead of like establishing exactly like a Lovecraft method and trying to figure out something that's a little bit more my own style. Because as I said, no one has like a fucking like this is how you fucking cosmic horror.
Yeah, that's the thing with a lot with genres, both in writing and just in tabletop, because that's something that people get confused by a lot. Is like,
yeah,
what are my actual? Because like D&D and Pathfinder are a little bit flexible. Like you can use them to run true blue high fantasy, or you could try to run a darker fantasy where like stakes are higher, shit's more serious. Mm-hmm. You know, the mystical is less common kind of thing.
Yeah.
You can even run horror campaigns in some of those. Like I know that Pathfinder tried really hard to like add a lot of public domain Cthulhu Mythos stuff to them. But also you could use those to run Conan the Barbarian type, you know, action adventures, basically. Yeah. Where, you know, Conan punches out the Dark Priest and is like, ooh, there's a bad, scary ritual going on. I'm going to run away now, because that's smart, and I'm Conan. But usually genres are collections of themes, of tropes, of kind of a way of handling certain narrative convenience. So cosmic horror is like, the Death Spiral is a good example of cosmic horror. The original Call of Cthulhu hard-coded that with the sanity system. Your sanity is likely to keep going down, and then you go inevitably crazy, like all the people at the end of H.P. Lovecraft stories. That's a good genre emulation, you know. Yeah. And that kind of stuff, you know, recovering from wounds is very hard sort of thing. And that's one of the big tropes. There's also, like you said, the slow ramp up. Usually you start small and build way up. And you get a couple of these big explosions of spooky stuff. You know, insignificance of man, all that things. So, yeah, you kind of have to find how you want to use the genres and themes. So, Lucky, I was going to basically say, so I take it that you have found how you want to use the genres and themes.
Yeah, so, basically, originally I had Torchlight set up as it was going to be like something crazy had happened to a sleepy tourist town in the Rockies, and the military is like, we have to investigate. And I was like, I looked at that, like, now I was like, too overt, wipe that, scratch that. And now I've changed the opening setting. Now it's a group of friends on their winter break going to vacation in this sleepy Rockies tourist town. Which I think, again, sets up the tone a lot better. Instead of having, like, you know, grisly military veterans and science be like, yes, we have all these tools and gadgets and guns to help us, whatever. No, now you're just going to be a group of, like, a bit more average, a bit more normal people who are going to be thrust into, I want to say, extraordinary circumstances.
And that's kind of a difference in tone between, like, Call of Cthulhu, the game, and Delta Green. Delta Green is like, yeah, you guys work for the military-industrial complex, and it doesn't help.
Yeah.
But that's very much a different feel than lots of other cosmic horror stuff.
Yeah. So
actually, I think Axe is doing a good example here. Delta Green, or more that military style, is Resident Evil, where, like, you get some guns, you usually have some authority, you solve some puzzles, you do some stuff, but at the end of the day, you might blow some giant zombie mutants up with rocket launchers. Whereas Silent Hill, I don't think ever gets to that point. It's just all spooky psychological stuff.
Yeah. Because, like, I've narrowed down, like, what I want the main themes of my campaign to be, which is something I should have done in the first place instead of trying to come up with some wild idea. I want exploration, investigation, and morality. So, exploration is, like, I'll start with this, exploration because it's the first one in the exploration is, I want to make cool set pieces for people to explore and discover, along with, like, puzzles that they have to get through. Some of them will be, like, really fucking simple, like, basically you just have to, like, there's a door that you can't get through, and it looks like it has some pieces. Like, how are you gonna, how are you gonna get this, get through this door? You go about, and there should be, conveniently placed objects in the vicinity, and you gotta mash, your circle into the circle hole or something. Also, I say exploration because I said I do want to do, combat is not something that's gonna be thrown out of this. There's still gonna be combat, but I said it's gonna be a slow ramp up of combat. I'm sticking with the main, what my setup is, the abandoned mine shaft. And I said, this is spoilers, but, I said, you're just gonna be a bunch of, regular guys and gals in this, so you're not gonna be, carrying around a bunch of guns and stuff, but, you might be good with your fists. You might find a pickaxe or a sledge in the, mines. And, there might be crazy-ass lunatic, old miners in there who, think this claim is theirs, and they do not take kindly to trespassers in the most extreme fashion possible. But they're not gonna be, they're gonna just be regular dudes who are just a bit crazy.
I'm honestly, obviously Axe is typing when you might want to think about that, but I'm thinking of lots of, other media comparisons to make to this, there's a lot of stuff this feels like, and I think that's good that I think you're kind of hitting. That's the thing. On the one hand, comparisons to other stuff, some people go oh, well, I didn't really... I'm not copying them, per se, but also at the same time, it's good to have touchstones, Yeah. So it's kind of... I think it's kind of reassuring at times to be oh, actually, that sounds like a couple different things. That's pretty neat that, you're capturing... I think you're capturing the feel you want to, because, I'm reminded of, what I know of Until Dawn.
Yeah.
And some other stuff.
Inspiration. Yeah, it's because... I don't because as I said, agency is something that I'm super for, but at the same time, I don't want my players to, literally run rampant. Because that's, because there's a story to tell, and unfortunately, if my players just, ignore the story I tell,
yeah,
for, their own options, honestly, we go completely off the rails, I have to, come up with some new stuff. And
yeah, no, there's at some point, especially depending on if things are more story driven, you have to tell your players okay, guys, you need to not be assholes. We need to keep on task, and if you don't keep on task, you won't find anything fun out there. Basically,
yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to this is where I am in my writing right now. I'm trying to keep things open-ended enough, so players have a variety of options to arrive at a solution. But I don't have to basically railroad them into the solution.
Yeah, I've done that a lot with the L5R campaign I'm working on right now. I'm just here's a problem. There are a lot of ways you could deal with this. I have no idea how you're going to do it, and it will probably be influenced by choices you've made in the past.
Yeah.
I would tell this to players when we actually start. God knows when that'll be, but it will be there will be times where if you make all your rolls and you make all the right choices, you can complete story arcs completely honorably. You can gain honor. You don't have to lose any honor. Don't have to do anything dishonorable. That's going to be hard though, and you might be tempted to take some shortcuts, which are not honorable. But that's kind of the thing. That how it works is the objectives are specific but open ended. You will be going to a place to deal with this problem. How you solve this problem, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
That's your guys' thing. That's the player's thing. That's the thing I, the GM, give to you, is you guys get to figure out how you solve the problem. I'm just here to let you know what dice you have to roll. And I may have designed some characters or specific obstacles to specific things to do, because you mentioned it, like the exploration. You want to like show people set pieces. That's another thing I like to do in certain games. Like I've talked about before. Like I really like to do that in Eclipse phase. Is like build specific set pieces that people can see and interact with and kind of fiddle with. I've done that a lot with L5R2, where it's like I want to like do a haunted house thing, or I want to do a castle thing. You know. So yeah, and you've established at least one. I'm not gonna. If you don't want to elaborate on more ideas, because I'm going to be playing in this game, you don't have to. But like, obviously, you've decided the mineshaft is a good set piece, and you've figured out, you know, the moving parts in here and there and stuff.
Yeah, well, as I said, the mineshaft is basically what I'm basically calling, because I'm gonna try and plan out everything by episodes. Because here's the thing that I've noticed that me and you like to do: we always like to reckon our tabletop games to TV shows.
Yes,
and
everything's episodic. I literally, that's how, once again, how I'm going to pitch my L5R campaign and be like, guys, you're in an anime. You're like, we're playing Inuyasha right now. Sometimes arcs will take multiple episodes, but like the plots will be episodic and vaguely connected.
Yeah. And so that's how I'm building, like, episode 1, I'm just going to call it, right now, it's called Welcome to Torchlight. And the ending themes is, God, what was the name of the fucking song? I know the fucking...
That's the thing we've done a few times. We did that for our first Monster Hearts campaign, which is sadly not recorded, which was where I was like, I'm going to figure out an opening and ending song for each one of these episodes.
I don't know the opening song. It probably doesn't have one for this, but the ending theme of episode 1, Welcome to Torchlight, is The Heavy by Shortchange Hero.
Which also showed up in our Monster Hearts campaign.
Yeah.
But that's a really good song that's very impactful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's something I wish I could do more with is music, but it's harder now. It's a little bit harder now that we're recording, but also it's not as thematically appropriate all the time.
Like, I can tell you, like, right now, I've gotten how episode 1 starts, and I got it how it ends. I'm working on the middle. Once I get, like, episode 1 done, and I get some, like, enough players, it'll probably be enough for me to start springboard into, episode 2, which I only have fuzzy bits floating around, right?
Sure.
Because as I said, I basically took everything that I had before, and I'm like, no, this is way too overt. It's not hitting the themes I actually wanted. As I said, because I have, like, the 3 things. Like, the second one was, investigation. Like, first one, exploration, second one, investigation. Investigation is like exploration, except it's more personal. It has to do with people and their motives and whatnot. Because while things are going to definitely be, fucked in Torchlight, there's still going to be people there, and I said, like, they might be on your side, they might not be, they might be on your side then flip, they might not be on your side then flip, and, you know, what you learn about people and how they interact with each other is going to be, like, crucial to, like, making those connections and unlocking next parts of the puzzle. This plays into the third, morality, because, again, I'm making my players into normal, you know, like, I would probably want to say early to mid-20s people.
College
who, you know,
woo!
What?
I said college woo! Easy excuse in the book.
Who, you know, may have dealt with some harshness in their life, but, you know, never got middle of a fucking, you know, like, was ever in the middle of a fucking horror movie, I guess. So you might have to do some things that, like, your character might not call into question. This is one of the other things they're going to be calling. This is another reason why I'm using Nemesis, because for one, I really do like the one roll engine.
Number one, one roll engine is sweet. Number 2,
yes, Nemesis actually has a stand system in it, which I looked over and was like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. It's very Call of Cthulhu-esque. I kind of feel like they're just like, all right, we're going to take this and put it here.
Yes, it was actually by one of the DG Call of Cthulhu writers back in the day, who was like, all right, I'm gonna write, because he was also working for the guys who make One Roll Engine. I'm gonna write a One Roll Engine hack that is basically just COC stuff, because that's all, you know.
So
public domain.
Yeah. So and whose idea was go to Torchlight? You guys are going to Torchlight because it is actually a tourist town with sweet ass ski slopes. It's winter vacation, and you guys decide to go on a ski trip.
So we should know how to ski, you say?
Well, you don't have to know how to ski, but if you have, I don't know, like, what skill would that be?
Probably athletics, something dumb like pilot. That's one thing I kind of don't like about Nemesis, is it's got a lot of skill bloat, but...
Yeah.
It's whatever.
This is another reason why I want to I'm lowering the power, is because if I, like, believe it or not, when, this is something I've realized, my friend actually, like, conned me onto this. When you actually start at a lower skill level, like, you start weaker, you are actually generally stronger. You're generally stronger by the time you get, like, up to those upper levels, because you have time to actually experience and see what your character wants to be good at, instead of trying to figure it all out from the beginning. Like, so, yeah, if you might, like, because I don't plan on being stingy with XP, because, as I said, things are gonna get weird, and you're gonna need a lot of know-how to get through. But at the same time, it's like, I want people to, like, kind of start fresh and build their characters as we go, because it's supposed to be it's supposed to be, oh god, what's the word I want to use? I don't want to say coming of age, but a growing experience, you know, a trial, and, you know, adversity breeds something. There's a bunch of sayings about it, about when things get hard, you learn from them and then make you a bigger, better, stronger person. You know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Necessity is the mother of invention. You know, all those kind of things. So, like, for example, a character goes through mindset. He finds a sledgehammer. Doesn't have any melee, but guess what? He has to fight off a fucking lunatic miner anyway. And, player goes, alright, we're obviously gonna start being attacked. I have this hammer, so, considering I've been swinging it around, let me start putting some points in the melee. Maybe I'll get specialization sledgehammer. Or something like that. You know, you can start building your characters for what you have on hand, instead of trying to guess what you might get. And that's something I want to do, because as I said, like, I don't know about other people, but I'm a person who gets really attached to my characters. The more I like them, like, the more I like him, like, the stronger it is. Like, I've told this, it has happened with Wolfgang, it happened with the Cat, excuse me. And, you know, like, I've just spent so much time with them, it's all like, yes, this is me, but not me. And so, like, yeah, so, honestly, it's probably gonna still be a little while before I actually finish up Torchlight. As I said, like, I got the beginning done, I got the ending done, now I'm working on the middle, because I'm trying to, like, here's the other part I'm trying to figure out. Because, as I said, this is my first time DM, and I'm trying to figure out how lengthy of a segment do I want this to be. Like, how long do I want the player characters to spend in this area? Actually, say you want, I don't want to do a test run, necessarily. Because, as I said, like, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna figure it out. It's just,
yeah. I mean, it's like, sometimes I like to take time to play, like, what are quote-unquote one-shots, but basically limited games that I'm not necessarily, like, trying to build the whole plot out of. That helps me, like, find pacing and stuff, but you can also just kind of, like, figure out how much content you want to be in. Like, that's the segment. That's what I got.
Yeah. So,
and personally, I've something I've picked up that I can't remember what game this was advised in, but I have heard from a game that teaches the philosophy that it's always better to run shorter than run longer, because then, like, people want to come back. But it's a general philosophy these days. I'm just like, it runs however long it runs. Like, if we're high energy and we're gonna keep going, it's like, okay, we can go for it a little bit longer. But if it's like, you know, no, I think it's Monster Hearts, actually. It's like that. If you hit a good wrapping point, just wrap. Just stop. Like, I know that can be weird to some people, especially with physical groups, where, like, this is my one time every week to get together for 2 to 4 hours and do the thing. Like, I want to take all my time. But just for purposes of, like, pacing and cinematography, there are times when it can be great to just go, no, that's the end right there. That's the end point. We're done now.
Mm-hmm.
That was the point to stop.
Yeah, so, again, I'm gonna put it out there, for players, like, I want 3 to 4, honestly, actual players. If I can get, 3 people, which is one more, because I have a Mega and I have Axe who wants to play, I'll just throw in a, GMPC, to round it out.
Have you talked about Marth doing it?
I think I don't know if he was actually that interested.
Well, you can double check with him.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Martha has definitely said he's, I said Martha has his own taste. Like, he usually likes Star Wars. I think he wants to play Eclipse Phase, Legend of Five Rings. I don't know if he's, like, necessarily...
He's not as excited about L5R, I think, though, I think he does like this edition a little bit better than the 4th one, which we played.
Yeah.
Which I tried to run.
Here, what?
You could ask Ron, but That's always a big question mark.
Ron's a big question mark, and he also, Ron likes to, well, I don't know how he is now. He might have changed how he wants.
Well, and also I think Ron plays different games differently. Like, on the one hand, he is very efficient about his character design, but also I know he's played and actually really likes a lot of, like, horror stuff, too.
So...
Like, I don't know if it was just the way Wild Talents was that scratched his min-max itch, but that was very specifically engineered.
Yeah.
Which is okay. The game is built for that. But like I think I've said before, that as a GM designing supervillains, basically, boy howdy, that made me come up with some very specific tricks for some people.
Because here's the other thing, like, I don't, like, this is going to be my first time, so I don't necessarily want players who are going to try and tell me what to do as a GM, because there's a lot of type of players out there, like I said, passive and active. Like, I'm active. If I don't think like Omega is doing something like necessarily right or weird, I'll call him out on it. It's like, dude, are you sure this is what you want to do? And Omega's like, usually be like, yeah, this is how I roll, and I'm like, he gives me reasons. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, classic example, me, like, fucking percentile dice on what was 1-1, like, what was 0-0, and what was 100.
Yeah, like, where I was like, well, no, that's how my notes are written. I understand you can interpret that multiple ways, but everything's been written that it's 01 to 100.
Yeah. So it's like, I was like, oh, okay, that works. But if someone's doing that to me, I might get a little upset, because it's like...
Well, yeah, you're trying to find your rhythm, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, lots of people... This is actually a conversation I had earlier today with Snow, who's one of the members of the community, and who is sometimes obnoxious, but sometimes is okay, and has a lot of experience jamming. There you go, Snow. You got shouted on the show. But he likes to post lots of memes, and especially D&D memes, because he's actually been running Pathfinder for some people in the squad, in the Discord community.
Mm-hmm.
All of our Discord babies, as I have taken to calling you. Especially because so many of them are so tiny, so young.
They are.
But he posted a comic which is like a genie in the like a person acts. I wish I had all I needed to learn how to be my group's GM, and the genie like snaps his finger and he's like, nothing changed. The genie's like, yeah. Like, there's a lot of respect for people being new to GMing, I think, in the actual community. I don't know, like, we had some back and forth about shows like Critical Role and stuff, and being like, I don't necessarily go for like any big name stuff. Like, I've tried a few shows of rando internet people playing tabletop games, and sometimes it's okay for me, but other times I'm just not interested in what they do. Like, my background in AP mostly comes from tabletop game people playing tabletop games. Like, that was their deal first, is they talk about games and other nerdy stuff, and they're not necessarily like internet videos. Like, I tried to follow Heroes and Halfwits, which was Achievement Hunter's D&D show for a while, but I was kind of like, well, one, because they kept having their cast rotate out, which really fucked with me, because I was like, I can't get a consistent read on any of these characters. But also just, like, some of them were super new, some of them were not, and it just kind of was like, I mean, you're entertaining, but this doesn't go on, like, quite long enough for me, and I didn't feel, like, super engaged as an audience member. But in general, I feel like the tabletop community, like, understands, oh shit, you're GMing for, like, the first time? Okay. Everybody, like, be cool. Because, especially if you GM, you never want to scare off a new GM. Because that's another person who could GM. And, as a person who does all the GMing for our home group, normally, that's a thing where it's like, yeah, no, I want people to learn how to GM, because that means I get to play sometimes.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely a little bit of a burden to GMing. I'll say this as a player, especially since I spent most of my time as a GM. As a player, I like to do two things. It's the same thing, but I like to embrace the world I'm in and embrace the character I'm in. I don't necessarily want to like metagame stuff. Like, if I have knowledge of the setting, if we were doing something like, God forbid, if you were running a Cliffs phase, I would have lots of knowledge of the setting and be like, shoot, isn't there a thing about the thing? And Lucky would probably look at me and be like, maybe? I don't know. I'm like, I'll look it up later. But I like to be in the world and, like, play a person who exists in that world. I know there are a lot of people who like to be edgy or they like to be contradictory. I hate that stuff. I hate when people... It's funny considering our conversations about The Last Jedi. I hate when people just try to subvert my expectations for the heck of it. So, like, I'm not... like if that's the feeling of the whole game, that's cool. If somebody's being like, I will be warning everybody playing my L5R game, hey, nobody start as like a secret cultist or a member of the Kolak conspiracy, or I'm, you know, a super dank triple cover shinobi who hates honor. Honor is dumb. I'm gonna be like we can play a little fast and loose, and by no means do you have to stay honorable your whole career, but for the love of God, please start out engaging with the setting as it's written. Please. Don't try to, like, bamboozle me and duck out of the social systems. Like, actually face up to the consequences of your actions, which may be you lose honor and glory for being a scumbag.
Uh-huh.
And there are certainly different starting characters that have different opinions. Like, there are shinobi role characters who are actually like, yeah, you've been trained in some sneaky shit. Your honor score is usually a little bit lower than other people. But, because you've been trained in some stuff, but that doesn't mean you're an honorless douchebag. That just means that you know how to do things that are not honorable. How you use them is going to be the question of the game. Like, I would not want people to play a ninja character just so they can get away with being a murder hobo.
See, this is one of the reasons why I actually honestly also changed how I wanted the starting group to be. Because ways before, I think it was like a little too widespread, and people could just be whatever, but by, like, you know, like, closing the social circuits, like, yeah, you are a group of friends. That means that all these guys...
what I hear called is group template, just setting the expectations for your group. Good. Thumbs up on you.
Yeah. You all know each other. You all, like, generally like each other, so there shouldn't be anyone who's, like, out to, like, suddenly betray the group.
Actually, you know, our Pathfinder friends had a session 0. I should ask them when I talk to them sometime, like, what was their setup? Like, I don't know, they could have gone for you all meeting in, but they actually, like, got together and talked about their characters, so I want to know if there was a group template or a hook there.
Yeah.
Because that's usually important. Like, give a reason to be a team. Because otherwise, well, not all the time, some players, like, are friends with all the other players and they just go along to get along, but there are some people who will definitely ride that edge of being in character and be like, so I don't really have a reason to like these people, thus, the way my character is designed, I would, you know, draw steel and slaughter them all. Because why am I dealing with these assholes? It's kind of like the family thing we were talking about earlier. Like, you know, you don't always get to choose your family. So it's like, yeah, what's, I kind of the realization that I don't have an actual in-character reason to be friends with you or not to stab you all. So you have to give me some reason not to. And some people will be like, that's a funny term, Axe, the roleplay terrorist. No, it's totally what my character would do. Like, you're going against my core values. I have to stab you. I'm like, and GMs everywhere are usually head and hands at this point going, you really don't have to stab them. You don't have to do that. You really don't have to do that. We can do this a million different ways. Ah, he stabbed him. Shit. Because like you say, you as the game master, you want to respect players' agencies. You want to, like, because that's what the players are here for, is the players are here to play the characters and do the things, you know, roll the dice. So you want to make them feel like they're having an impact on the world and they're doing stuff. But at the same time, you give them a little too much rope. And it's like, oh, whoops, you did something bad. Like, there are moments in the L5R game where I'm like, I don't think anybody will be really dumb and suggest a really bad idea. But if they do, I'm going to warn you beforehand and be like, hey, that's a really fucking stupid idea, and I don't like it. And that's against the social construct, and I will punish you for it. Like, if... I am okay telling, like, I think you were probably going to say this, but I'm okay warning players beforehand, hey, you're about to make a dumb move, and here's why.
Yeah.
But if you insist on doing the dumb move anyway, I will be like, okay, I warned you. You freaked out some of the other players once as Taket, where you were like, can I shoot the torpedoes to scare the enemies off? Well, I mean, you're going to shoot in front of you, which means you got to fly through a debris field. That's probably not a great idea. I'm going to do it. And literally everybody else on the ship is like, Taket, no! Yamero! And you just slam the button, and I'm like, okay, pilot, roll the check. They both of them, I think, were a little bit, or were all three of the other players? All the other players were a little bit salty with you for the rest of that session, in character. They were not happy with Taket.
Yeah, I did do that. I remember that.
No, and I, like, as a game master, other than the people being a little tense, I wasn't against that. I just wanted to be like, I want you to understand. You're about to do something which may have negative ramifications. I don't want you to be like, but Omega, you didn't tell me that something bad would happen. No, I told you something bad would happen.
I don't think I've ever been like that. I usually, like, for my action, I think I usually am pretty upfront. It's like, yeah, that was my bad.
No, you are also good about that, but I think that's part of lucky being lucky is just the kind of like, you know, happy-go-lucky, come as they may kind of attitude you have, especially with a lot of your characters, but also in real life. Is just, well, I'm going to try the thing, and then, oh, the thing didn't work. Oh, that's my bad. I did it. There's no point in lying about it. I did the thing. I wanted to try it.
Yeah, like I can say, like, right now, even though I spent, like, so much money on the gacha, I don't blame the gacha. I blame me for that. I was the one who hit that button. Like, can I be a little salty about, like, there's no safety net? Yeah, but in the end, it's like, that was me. That was all me. And, like, same with, like, Majors of War. It's like, I remember, like, out of characters like, Marth, I'm gonna choose the really stupid, dangerous plan. Are you okay with that? And he's like, yeah, no, it's fine. I'm like, cool.
That's because Marth is going to survive it, as we've seen.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Like, I don't think you've ever really been, like, you have turned to me and said, see, this is why I'm covered in armor, but you've never been really salty about the results of risks you've taken in character in, like, Mages of War. Like, you understand when you build a melee character, well, that means I have to charge up to people and smack them, which sometimes is not going to make sense because we have guns that can shoot people from quite a long ways away. So you have never necessarily been mad at me or even yourself about those decisions and just be like, well, that happens sometimes. And other times you just cut dudes in half and it's like, well, okay, that guy's dead. Good job, you.
Good job, me.
Everybody high five.
I take the good with the bad, I guess.
And that's the kind of thing I like to, as a player, I like to try and do that too. I haven't played a lot, but I've played a few games with people. I played a little bit of D&D 4th, a little bit of Pathfinder that our good buddy Ron ran. He got really into D&D and Pathfinder at a point because he was playing with people at home, literally at home. But also I've played a game I really like, Misspent Youth, which is about youths rebelling against the authority. I'm sure the other players aren't there listening, but I will say Radio Free Rail forever. I may have told that story. We were teenage pirate radio on disused rail tracks. Like, our society had a lot of rail lines that were all closed because the authority figures had taken it over. And I couldn't really remember what the authority's deal was. I think they were just, like, vaguely oppressive to people. Like, they were, like, kind of a social construct and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, we were all, teen rebels. I was, like, a weird greaser kid, who was, like, really retro, even though that wasn't necessarily the style at the time. But we were pirate radio. And our group was called Radio Free Rail. We literally ran a pirate radio station out of a train car so the authority couldn't catch us. And I love that campaign a lot. Mm-hmm. But that was with the group of internet randos. So the internet randos vanished and the game stopped.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so as a player, like I said, I will be adventurous. I will write my own content. I will do my own work on my backstory and characters and stuff. I did that for Metahuman Renaissance West Coast, which Ron ran, and he did a lot of work he did a lot of work integrating into the setting for MHR I wrote. But I'll do that heavy lifting and stuff. And I don't know, I've had tension with GMs before about not being able to, like, develop my character in the way I want, but at the same time it's usually just like I want to go with the flow and do the things that this character would do in this setting that I'm in. I don't want to necessarily do things because I would do them that way. I want to, like, write the character and perform them. But also sometimes I want to do cool stuff. Everyone wants to do cool
that's
stuff.
where I am right now is I'm actually doing a lot of research into Colorado and the Rockies, honestly, because
research is the best part of GMing.
Yeah, because I'm, like, learning it, like, like, what kind of laws it has, how was their mining culture, like, actually, believe it or not, the Rockies is actually a very abundant resource site. Like, I was looking into it, there are veins of gold, silver, copper, tungsten, zinc, like a whole bunch of stuff.
It's pretty new and actively volcanic range, so I would expect that.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, all right, like, if there's mines here, what was in them? What would people have been looking for? Like, good old gold rush. Like, how, like, what, like, how big, like, with the gold rush, like, so how long has these mines been here? Like, how would the town have cropped up? Like, this is all the research I'm doing, like, right now as I try to get this set up. I know, like, this is my first time GMing, but, like, this is an idea that I've had in my head for, like, a really long time, so I want to put in, like, some people like say it's like, don't like over worry about it too much, just do it and go. But like, this is one of those situations where I don't want to do that. Like, no, I actually want to like craft this.
Well, yeah.
Really...
So when people are saying like just improv, that works for some games. That works a lot for D&D, where you're just like, I don't know, there's some fucking shit here. The monster manual says that owlbears are a thing. You're fighting fucking owlbears. Not that owlbears aren't rad, but there are game genres and types which are just like, you can just make some shit up. Just pull some shit out of your ass. But especially with like horror or tension and stuff, you wanna build specific elements, and you wanna actually reinforce those, and you wanna make things feel real, right? Like,
yeah.
If you're doing a 1920s Call of Cthulhu game, you want to actually be like, hey, here's some examples of what people are doing, talking about, and wearing in the 20s. Like how are you interacting with this world? And you can't just make that shit up. Like, modern games is another place where you can get away with it because everybody's lived a modern lifestyle, so they can just think about stuff like, I don't know, I'm just going to go to the bar. Okay, well, there's a bar, there's a guy tending bar there, he's polishing a glass because that's what we see in TV, so there you go. Bringing it back. But, like, touchstones are important, and, like I said, some stuff is way more, way more improv-friendly than others, but no, I totally understand. Like, no, you want to do your actual fucking research and actually build concrete things that players can grab onto.
Mm-hmm.
Because who knows, maybe a player will be like, oh, there's sulfur in this mine, can I mix it with the other two things and make gunpowder and Captain Kirk this motherfucker? And then you have to ask yourself, shit, is there sulfur in this mine?
Yeah.
Which is like, that's a thing that GMs need to be prepared for, and like I said, some games let you just wing it. Other games don't.
As I said, and I'm trying to avoid... Like, there's going to be a little bit of winging in it, because, again, player agency, I think that's super important to the game. And, like, honestly, I can't predict what players will do, honestly.
It's hard.
Yeah. So, like, the more details I arm myself with beforehand, the easier it is for me to deal with whatever my players may come up with. So, like as I said, like, sulfur, there might be trace amounts, but... Because you are in a volcanic region, but this is a mine that has already been fairly, like, dug out, so I doubt you're gonna find any immediately. So, like, it's like, they'll be like, oh, okay, so I'm not gonna find sulfur, like, immediately. But, on the other hand, they might just find some old dynamite that was left in the area.
And that's gonna be super safe.
Yeah. And then that comes into that question, is like, do you want to use this really old dynamite that may or may not work, and may work with a very different effect?
Yeah, hold on, wait, how smart is my character? Do I understand that dynamite, after a while, can sweat the nitro?
Yeah.
Whoops.
So, it's like, it's those things, like, yeah, you maybe can't make an explosive, but maybe you'll find some, and if you should use them. Like, the mine section, I'm actually trying to make, as again, fairly robust, because I want, before we actually get into the full horror setting, I want to use the mines as a good testing ground so people can mesh, figure out, like, how they want to act, like, understand how they're setting, because I said, there's gonna be action, there's gonna be a couple, there's gonna be, like, one big, what do I want to call it? I know what I'm gonna call it a fucking, QTE section, where, that's the only way I can think of it, is where it's like, smash A to run.
Action segments.
Yeah.
Action horror.
And, there'll be a few encounters, but there's also going to be a lot of exploring. There's going to be a little bit of puzzle solving. I basically want, before I open up the world a little bit more, I want to take everyone through this kind of guided set piece so people can understand what is going on in the game. So,
and hopefully anybody else you get into this, either we can just talk to, or they've listened to this episode and they understand what you're going for.
Yeah.
But this is also why open communication is really great. You need to talk to your players, you need to talk to your GM and be like, hey, here's what we're doing.
Yeah. That's like, the mine shaft I'm not particularly, like, the actual, like, Torchlight town, yeah, I'm trying to avoid because, spoilers and whatnot. But the mine shaft, as I said, is something that's connected, but not directly connected, so I feel more comfortable about talking what's going to be going on in it. Like, for example, like, I've already decided, like, when the players actually escape the mine shaft, and they make it to the town, the first thing they'll notice is, like, I already know how it's going to end. The first thing they'll notice is they'll notice the welcome to Torchlight sign. It'll say, "Welcome to Torchlight. Population," but where there would be numbers instead is just a big claw mark tearing through all the numbers. And as we zoom out and fade to black, The Heavy by Short-Changed Hero plays. And that's how I kind of want to leave the mood. Like, right there, it's all like, we just got to town. Something might not be right. And then that's when we go into, like, you know, bigger and better things. Because, like I said, this is going to be my first time really GMing. There's been a couple times that I've kind of fucked about, but that was completely improv. This is my first time making a solid, like, honest-to-God campaign. And so I'm like, I'm going to need a little bit of help. Like, I'm going to be, like, poking Omega. It's like, hey, Omega, does this work? And, you know, I'll get feedback from him. I'll get feedback from other players. Because I want this to be a success. Like, I want everyone to have a good time. I want to have a good time. Because, like, see, me having a good time is key for me continuing to GM, so... and the players having a good time is key to keep them wanting to play my game. So, everyone needs a good time. Actually, Omega, what's the time at?
Oh, right now? Mission clock? We're just over 2 hours.
Oh, okay. Oh, alright.
We're not going too long, but, you know, we've done a meaty show if we're winding down either.
Yeah.
That would be super ironic, though, if we made an episode of What's Up in a week that was shorter than our episode of Let's Talk FGO.
So, yeah, again, I'm looking for 1 or 2 more players. Once I get more of the fucking concrete down, I will put on this. Like, right now, for game type, I'm probably going to take it down to gritty, which is only 50 dice. Not so much because it's going to be necessarily a gritty game, but I'm going for realistic.
Yeah, do though, like, Axe just went oof, like, do remember in that case to be careful about how hard stuff is and how bad it hurts, because that will be a very small pool in some cases.
Yeah. Well, as I said, again, combat is not going to be a major thing. There is going to be combat. There will be fighting. And, as I said, for a while, like, for a long time, it's like I said, a lot of sessions are not going to have any combat. It's just going to be like, alright, you did some stuff, have some XP. And you should, like, I'm expecting that everyone will hit the cinematic points.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to, because that's one thing, is like, I have to look at how XP works in Nemesis again, because you don't just get XP, it's a pip thing, you earn them for, like, topping rolls and stuff, so.
Yeah.
You may have to massage that as GM if you want us to advance.
Oh, I plan to. Because I do, because as I said, this is going to be a ramp up, which means players need to have a ramp up in power. So I need people to make a certain amount of XP, or a certain amount of XP before we hit that point. But I definitely want you guys to start off to be a bit more gritty, because, again, this is what I said, is like, the more powerful you start off, the more, like, I think the weirder players tend to get with their skill rolls. It's all like, oh yeah, I have 75 dice. Well, let me make myself, like, let me put, like...
Well, I don't know. I made a 75 dice character before. There were definitely some sacrifices I had to make, but still, like, you are right in that you can definitely put a couple dice in things you wouldn't otherwise, and be like, I can cover some bases.
Yeah.
It's just, it's hard to build a big dice pool. You can't be like, I'm going to cover my bases, and I'm still going to be really good at stuff. It's like, okay, I can afford to very slightly cover my bases.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there will probably be some adjustment in there, because it's been a while since we played One Roll Engine. The game's really good, but there's also a lot of probability involved in there.
Yeah.
Like, Wild Talents has the bell curve, so I think it's almost like the way it works. It's an even split where, like, you know, 2 dice you have like a 10% chance that you'll get a matching pair, and like 10 dice it's like a 99% chance you'll get a matching, at least one match.
Yeah.
You know, the chances of you getting a straight are super low. So, like, 5 or 6D is about more likely to make a match than not, that can be a little rough if, like, everybody's rolling 3 dice for everything. That's like, you're gonna fail lots of stuff. Unless we can all help each other out. I don't know. Nemesis is not a very long booklet, but it's a thing I have to reread again to be double checked, because I'm like, do they have specific rules about stuff like helping and whatnot? No. But yeah, they're sure. We could probably, like, team up on stuff. I'm sure.
But yeah, I think that's it. All I have. I'm a bit sad that we haven't got to play Mages of War recently. I will say that.
Yeah, we're working on it. Just the timing hasn't worked out yet because we're so busy and stuff.
And so Torchlight is going through again. I'm looking for players. I said it's not something that's going to be happening like within the next week or so. So that's like because I'm in the process of writing. I'm in the process of researching. Like learning about like real world Colorado is kind of a trip. It's like especially since I have to get into historical stuff too because this place has history.
Spooky history.
Yeah, I don't know. Oof.
But yeah,
anyway.
All right. So we're talking about tabletop stuff. There has been a little thing I've been working on the past couple of days. He says as he looks at, he already has a 10-page document. So I'll throw this out to Lucky, but it has long been a thing I have been wrestling with, which is how would I, as a game master, I know lots of people have different ways to answer this question. How would I emulate Fate stuff on the tabletop? Because that's the thing that always happens. And actually, that was I wanted to talk about not necessarily as like a gaming thing, but just as a general storytelling idea, a thing on Let's Talk FGO that we're probably going to talk more about next week. But this got me kind of started to be like, stuff. But I was listening to some actual plays about some other indie type games involving like different die sizes and stuff, and it made me think like, kind of gave me some inspiration. I was like, oh, maybe I can make that work. Which is So the end result is something I'm currently working on, which is cribbing heavily from the Marvel Heroic role-playing game, which I have run before. I don't know if I ran it with you, Lucky.
Nah, I don't.
But I have run it before, and I kind of liked it. It's actually for what it's trying to do, it's a pretty neat game. The basic mechanic is you assemble a dice pool of various sizes of dice from all your different things. Like, you can... And Lucky can see this because I'm sharing the document with him about kind of the outline I'm transitioning into Fate, where it's like, okay, so I'm acting as a buddy, so I'm buddying up with somebody. We're doing a comics thing, a 2-man duo. I'll use this kind of die. I'll use this kind of distinction for this thing. I'll use this superpower from this thing because I've got a superpower for that kind of stuff. Like Spider-Man has like his spider powers and also his web shooters, and you kind of combo them all up and you make a die pool. You roll them. You add 2 of your dice together to make your total, and then you keep another die for something that's called your effect die. That's not really a big deal right now, but like you use the different sizes of dice to do different things. And it's got a very fluid way of kind of just like building these pools, rolling them real quick, doing them for whatever applies, and just kind of like narratively justifying everything. Like, you're like, oh, I'm gonna punch him, so I guess my super strength applies to this turn. Well, now I'm gonna the other guy's going to block being punched, so my super agility applies, because I'm going to try and get out of the way. Everybody has, like, action-reaction kind of stuff. But that basically got me thinking, because the unfortunate problem about the actual Marvel Heroic role-playing game was it was a really good core gameplay mechanic. I liked it a lot. Its problem was how they decided to roll out the game, which was they were selling the game as events which were based on actual Marvel Comics events, which means they had to write plots which were aped off Marvel comic plots, starting with Civil War. So they were not necessarily picking big plot arcs that weren't not controversial, I should say. Like, they weren't necessarily picking stuff that people remembered fondly. They were just picking big stuff that Marvel had done in the past not so long ago. Because I think this came out like 10 years ago. But also it meant they had to use art assets and print pre-generated Marvel characters loads at a time. Which on the one hand, it was cool. They were like stuff for like the Runaways, stuff for various X-Men, Avengers, whatnot, and so on and so forth. But I think it means they had to spend a lot of money in licensing art assets for the game, which was not good. So they basically bogged down trying to do this model, and it collapsed, which is a shame, because it was pretty good. Check it out, Marvel Heroic role-playing by Margaret Rice Productions. But basically, I was thinking about this game, and I was like, oh shit, that's kind of perfect for how to do Fate stuff, is like, because Fate is one of those universes which is a little bit crunchy, right? There's a little bit of mechanics, like, this thing is supposed to be better than this thing, or you have, like, this kind of comparisons, but also there's a little bit of narrative wiggle room in there, right? There's a little bit of variance, just because it would seem that logically something that's A rank beats B rank every time. That doesn't always happen, There's some narrative elements, too. There's plenty of storytelling and breaking rules and stuff, so I was like, what if I just kind of ported that mechanic into different zones and, like, so that's kind of what I've been working on lately, is trying to build out examples of how this works and build out what are called traits, which are basically the different areas you can select a die from, and kind of like balance it out. So it's right now the character outline is very narrative. You, the player, are supposed to talk with the GM, who is sometimes referred to as the world, because in the Marvel Heroic you were the Watcher. So I'm like, the GM's the world now, I guess. They're observing. And like figure out what works. Assuming you're not like modeling an existing character, but it's like, I don't know, that's a C rank thing, that's average, so that's like a D8 for that. And you kind of get this back and forth, and the GM is supposed to have the final say if you can't come to consensus. And I've started kind of trying to like work out how to like set it up so that there are enough hard rules that you feel like you can build the cool fate stuff, but also there's enough flexibility so that you can do the cool fate stuff, because like, that's something I've seen before. People are like, oh, I want to use wild talents for Fate. I'm like, that's not going to work, because that means that, like, you're putting a literal yard cutoff on Excalibur and stuff like that, and that's way too technical, right?
Yeah.
Like, that we like wild talents. I think that's way too technical for Fate, because that means you're coming up with, like, hard numbers for things that aren't really treated that way. Like, theoretically, Excalibur has a max range. It has a max number of targets. Nobody really knows how that works, but it's there. So I have kind of like outlined like skills, like I gave specific class skills, but then there's like personal skills, which is like you can take some class skills as personal skills, but others are just like, just write it. Here's an example
honestly,
of it.
I was looking at it, it's like, this seems like not necessarily, but kind of has the rule of cool.
Yes, there's very much a like, you can totally just figure out what they do and go with it.
Yeah.
And like, figure out how it works. And that's actually kind of a thing in the actual Marvel Heroic, which is mentioned. Like, you have the player resources, the plot points, which I think I will still call plot points. And by the way, if you're curious if it's okay for me to crib all these rules, yes, mechanics are not copyrightable. You can't trademark a mechanic. It's just a way thing works. But the idea is, like, in that game, you can spend one plot point to always add a d6 to your pool, and it's called pushing. You put a little bit of extra effort in, get a bigger result. Another thing you can do is you can temporarily buy a stunt if you tie it into one of your specialties or powers. In this case, this would be if you tie it into one of your skills or noble phantasms, and you like describe you doing a cool thing, you can put a stunt and you add a D8 instead. You add a bigger die just because you described how you could do something cool. And there's a lot of like, I want there to be a lot of narrative description for like how and why stuff works, and then it's like, and then there's some mechanics to like figure out why it does the thing. So I'm working through some examples and stuff. I've tried to include a lot of example text, which is not something I normally do when I'm writing, and I should probably do more, but this is all about examples. So I think after I write down some of these core mechanics, like I gotta actually transpose the rules about effect dice and stuff, and figure out some more stuff. My plan is to build examples, is to stat out all of the 7 original servants from Fate Stay Night as kind of like an example of how this works. Because, for instance, while I built a quote-unquote exhaustive list of class skills, I didn't bother doing that for personal skills. Like, because that's not what Fate is. Fate just makes up new personal skills all the time. So it's like, no, like, if you want some suggestions, I'm going to make some examples, but otherwise it's just like, do whatever. Do whatever makes sense for you.
This is what I was kind of meaning, like, the rule of cool. It's like, can you think about it and make sense? Roll with it.
Yeah. And, like, there are some specific examples I have come up with, like, things that need, like, specific mechanics. So, like, it's weird. So, the way that Fate normally works is, so, for example, technically, Mordred's sword, Clarent, is a noble phantasm. It's actually ranked C for reasons, but, like, it, for the example, I said it was B, because that's its original rank, interesting enough. But her actual shooty saber beams, Clarent Blood Arthur, is, like, an A+ noble phantasm. So I'm like, what if she wants to just hit somebody with her sword? So that's what in the game I call a tool trait, so you basically add that in the pool as, like, any old tool. This works for servants who use, like, other stuff that's not necessarily noble phantasms. Like, if you wanted to emulate Emiya having his twin swords or shooting arrows and stuff, you would be like, hey, so he just comes with tools. Like all of Carmilla's various torture devices, for instance, that just show up in her attack animations. Or people who throw knives for no reason. The knives aren't noble phantasms. This servant just has knives. They're a knife guy. So if you... Here's the literal example. I wrote this in italics text as example. EX. Sir Mordred wishes to use her legendary sword, Clarent, purely as a sword to hit people, rather than invoke its attack as her noble phantasm, Clarent Blood Arthur. She can do so by reducing the rank of Clarent, A+, by stepping it down to B, Thus, instead of being A is normally a D12, she rolls a D10 instead. It's a good sword. So, like, there's some specific rules for, like, handling obvious questions, but mostly it's just going to be, like, whatever you and the GM decide is right. And I don't know how I'd playtest this or how I'd want to playtest this, but...
I honestly, I think it's a cool concept. I think we have a little bit of a lot on our... we
have a lot of stuff we were planning and working on. I don't know. This was just, like, it just suddenly struck me the other day that I was like, oh, shoot, I could use that mechanic. And also, it's kind of short to write, because I, like... don't necessarily have to put all the baggage. Like, I have to figure out how to port over the experience system. And if I was actually playtesting it, I'd have to figure out how much masters suck. Because that's the thing. Like, servants get their servant stats, strength and agility, all that. They get different dice for different ranks. Master characters get the shittiest dice, D4, in all stats, because you will never be as strong or as fast as a heroic spirit. But this gives you an opportunity to roll more plot points, so you can do more cool stuff later if you have to actually... directly fight one, but the question is, like, is that actually fun? Like, I'd have to think about it. And this is just me wrapping my head around how I would do mechanics for Fate stuff. But I don't know if I was to run a game using these rules, what even kind of game would it be? Would I want to run, like, a regular Holy Grail War? Would I want to run, like, a big Holy Grail War where you're all on a team? Would it be like FGO, where maybe I, the GM, just play the master character and you guys are all just the servants who showed up kind of thing? Like, I don't know what I'd do. That's another classic problem, is figuring out how you handle masters and servants. Do you do it like Monsters and Other Childish Things, which is another One World Engine game, where theoretically another player can play, like, the player to your right also plays your monster, in addition to playing their own character, but sometimes that can be a bit of a burden, right? Is like, now that you have to play yourself, the character you made, but you have to play somebody else's, like, bonus character and, like, interact with them and have a different personality. Some people aren't cut out for that. But if you make it just, like, one player plays one master and one servant, then then you have a lot smaller character pool, you have a lot more NPCs you need to come up with.
Yeah.
So it's a whole thing that I like. Like I said, I haven't figured out that part of it, the actual campaign structure, but I've just realized to myself that, oh, shoot, these rules actually seem like they flow pretty good. Like, mostly it's narrative. Like, hey, the class skill writing, roll it whenever you would ride something. Ta-da. You can add writing. It's really easy. But other times there's special stuff, like, the way I wrote Madness Enhancement, for instance, because I did all the class skills, is like, so you can add Madness Enhancement to literally any pool, because you're just better, because you're crazy, but at any time, enemies can add your Madness Enhancement die as a complication against you, because you're fucking crazy. Which means the bigger your Madness Enhancement is, the harder it comes back to bite you if somebody uses it against you. So you could be like, fuck it, I'm invincible, I'm gonna take, Madness Enhancement B or A or something, or EX, I'm gonna roll big D20s in my dice pool, which is not something Marvel normally does. I went, for the way the scale works for Fate, I made it so EX is D20. So you're gonna have really big fucking dice, but boy howdy, is that going to bite you later. If somebody turns it against you. Like, for instance, if you were playing or running Penthesilea and somebody, like, flips your Achilles switch, whoops, you're in a bad way. And I added some things that what the game called special effects and limits. Like, in Marvel, there wasn't a good limit for hurting yourself. I had to be like, there has to be that in Fate. That's a thing that happens a lot with Noble Phantasms, is you hurt yourself a little bit. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there as, like, a cool little project I'm working on. If people are interested in it, I might, like, link in the description or something. But that was just kind of wanted to throw that out quick.
I read it real quick. I like it.
But yeah, I will probably, while this is processing, I will probably work on maybe wrapping up some more of that description and then working on some examples.
Oh, yeah.
And that's that. And then right now it's like 10 pages. It probably won't be longer than like 20-ish pages. So it's just a little short conversion hack I wrote, which is like, it's why right now the document is called Quick with 2 C's Fate, because I'm just like, I'm just going to kit bash this out real quick. Yeah, sure, I'll drop it in. I'll at least drop it in Patreon chat, because Axe is asking about it. But I warn you, it is incomplete. There are some examples and descriptions of rules I just haven't written yet, because this is usually how I work when I write homebrews, hacks, or whatever it is. I write the parts that are most interesting to me first, and then I look at it and I'm like, okay, where are the holes? Where did I not write something that I obviously have to write something? And sometimes it takes a while for you to find those holes. Looking at you, Mages of War. But all right, now we've been going for about 2 hours and 20 minutes. My voice is getting a little scratchy. I don't know. Is there anything? I know you mentioned on Let's Talk FGO that you hadn't really been watching as much stuff this week as you normally do.
Yeah, no, I've been kind of in a fluff, but I did actually did spend some time to catch up. I watched the. Did you watch the Case Files today?
Yeah.
I said it was good stuff. More Luvia. We'll talk more about that next.
Yeah, we'll talk. I think we've found a dedicated place to talk about Case Files on Let's Talk FGO.
Yeah. I haven't watched this week's Do You Like Your Mother because I only watched a few things, but I said it's still good stuff. I watched honestly, I think I really want to recommend a certain scientific accelerator to you, but unfortunately, watching it kind of requires you to watch previous stuff so you can at least know what's going on. It's not one of those series you can just jump into because you wouldn't have any idea why these characters are together or what they're doing or why such is such, which I think is a shame because again, a certain scientific accelerator is one of those shows I thought wasn't going to be as good as it is, just mostly because of its predecessors. I'm not going to say a certain magical index or a certain scientific railgun are bad, but as I said, it definitely suffers from some tropes and cliches, and storytelling might not be the best, especially since these are things that are adapted from a different source material. But you'd still need to at least watch a few specific arcs to know what's going on in a certain scientific accelerator. Let's see, what else have I watched? Grand Blim? See, Grand Blim is another one that I've been watching that I feel a little bit weird about. So, I guess I'll take this opportunity to talk about Grand Blim is about, middle and high school age girls who use magic to pilot super deformed robots as they fight for the power of magic. And it's a little dark. That's again, we're keeping on with that trope of magical girls and bad shit happening to them. I'm watching it. I need to get some other people's opinions on it, honestly, because I like it, but at the same time, I'm trying to wonder if this is me and just my objective taste, and I don't know if I can actually think critically about it because here's the thing, everyone's we've mentioned this, everyone's taste is subjective, and so what works for one person might not work necessarily for others. It's one of the reasons why I don't like people who off the cuff call themselves critics. It's unless you're neck deep in the industry, I don't know if what you can really say is objective and actually critical. It's just your personal taste. But at the same time, if I only have my opinion, I don't know how that actually measures up to what other people think. It's yeah, I think this is okay, and I think it's okay for this reason. But if someone else says no, I don't like this, and I don't like it for this reason, I can then take our two opinions together and see, where the overlap is. For example, today, it literally happened this conversation, what's up? Me and Omega's take on the Valhalla collab. He had his perspective, I had mine, and by putting those two perspectives together, we were able to make a bigger picture and, understand a little bit more about it. And that's what I need with Grand Blim right now. I need someone else who's watching it to tell me their thoughts on it, to see it's alright, so I can have a bounce off point, I think it would be. Because it's interesting, I like it, the mechs are a little weird. But it's this is just my personal tastes. I want to know, I want to get some, a focus group, I guess. What else have I been watching? Demon Slayer, it's good shit. This week's episode, really good animation. UFO table.
Yeah, I was about to say, I saw that it was trending on Twitter today.
Yeah. No, UFO table pulled out some really good animation today, so I guess people are talking about it. So we talked about Case Files. Let's see, what else am I watching? If it was for my daughter, I even defeat a demon lord. That's just cuteness. And, doting on your daughters in a fantasy setting. Honestly, it's good it's just good honestness. Let's see here. What else am I? I don't actually have my Crunchyroll open, so I don't actually have a full list of everything. I'm just trying to remember I'm watching off the top of my head. Oh, this, season's, big, we have, Do You Like Your Mother and 2-hit multi-target attack. But then we also have another isekai, which is literally just called Isekai Cheat Magician. And I'm trying to debate if I actually want to watch this one or not. Because, like, here's the moment where I was all like, okay, I'm a little bit done here. There was an episode where this dude summons an elemental creature that, it's like on the elemental plane, so physical attacks can't work against it. But then that same creature turns around and tries to claw the fucking guy in clearly a physical attack. I'm all like, wait, so it can do physical attacks to you, but you can't do physical attacks to it. I'm like, that's a little bit of bullshit to me. It's like, I don't know why, just for some odd reason, like, that moment right there, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of done with this right now. It's, like, I'm willing to accept a little bit of bullshit, but, I don't know. It's a little weird. I keep on watching it, but it's like, it's on its second strike, I think. I want to say. Because there's, like, I don't mind my campy, cheap, isekai so much. Like I've told people, like, I liked, the anime adaptation of In Another World with my smartphone. I don't think it's necessarily good, but I think it's entertaining for what it is. So, I don't mind watching it. But there's, like, other isekais which are the same genre, which kind of make me go, what is happening here? Look at, what was the fun? Blessings of Ragnarok. I'm just like, what's happening? I don't get it. Like, I am not entertained. I'm thinking. So Isekai Cheap Magician's like kind of on that border of what I do and don't like in like my cheap isekai shows, because like I treat like some isekais like I treat fast food. I know they're not really good for me, but I enjoy them anyway. Again, like personal and my personal opinions and, subjective to whatever or not. Like, let's see here. So let's see, Isekai Cheat Magician, Do You Like Your Mother, Demon Slayer, it's like, Fruits Basket I've already talked about. What other anime? Like a lot of anime I watch. Oh, Fire Force. I'm still watching Fire Force. I'm a little bit like, again, it's an adaptation from a manga, but it's being done by David Studios, which is a studio that basically splintered from Shaft because they didn't agree with Shaft's practices. Like, I don't know what's that's all about, honestly, because again, like, I don't do a lot of big research into a company's business practices unless it comes up in the news or something. So apparently there was some division among the animation company, and they formed David Productions, which is most famously noted for doing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But so looking at them doing Fire Force, I started like once I noticed that David Productions was split up for Shaft, I noticed like a lot of, I want to say, Shaftisms, because like companies when they split, they usually take like techniques or storytelling tropes with them. Along with like, you see this like when when Trigger formed from Gainax.
Yeah, because
they took some.
The thing is that, sorry, I was leaning back a little from my microphone. The thing is that obviously you're taking talent with you, so
yeah,
some of those people either are pioneers of some of those styles or just they were trained in the style of the studio or whatever. So there's some artistic overlap.
Yeah. Oh wait, excuse me. It wasn't necessarily from the mission of Shaft. It was Gonzo. But I think like I believe there are some Shaft personnel in there. Excuse me, I had to remember that. But yeah, so let's see here. Where was I going with that? But
Shrug. Something about Shaftisms and Fire Force.
Yeah, Shaftism. Yeah, Fire Force. You can definitely see them. And like honestly, like the animation's pretty good. Like I really love the opening. It really sells me. And like I said, the animation's good. I said, Fire Force is honestly a stereotypical, it's a shonen anime. You got boys with powers, girls with tits, powers everywhere. But it's still pretty good. Like, it's a fairly standard story, but it doesn't feel like it's necessarily overdone yet. Instead, only time will tell. But, like, I do recommend it for people.
Yeah, it's still on my list to check out. Hopefully, in the next week or two, I'll be doing less stuff so I can relax a little and like have that focus to sit down and watch some TV.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I actually just say, of course, it's only tits, but I literally just said it has that and other things.
No, I think he's talking about tit favoritism.
It's like, there's this...
Because he's weird and
like,
doesn't like boobs. Boobs are the best, though.
There is this interesting thing, because they are a firefighting force. So, like, of course, like, when there are moments, like, when, like, moments when they're out of uniform, yeah, that's, like, a bit slim and stuff, you know, tank tops and, you know, bare abs. But when they're actually in combat, they're wearing these really bulky firefighting uniforms that completely hides their figure. Like, there's like one exception.
Honestly, that's a good way to do it, because obviously, you know, shonen manga is aimed at, you know, pubescent boys. Technically, that's what shonen is, young men. That's the target demographic. So you're gonna be appealing to them a little bit, no matter what you're doing. But you can not be an asshole about it and be like, no, like we're not like being like really unrealistic or exploitative here. But also, in a situation where maybe they are a little dressed down, they look good.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that happens to people.
Yeah, honestly, like that. Remember the image, that caught your interest on.
Yeah, that's like a daydream or something, right? Like a.
Yeah, that's
like
no, it's
gag.
an impression. Like, they're calling Maki the witch, and so they draw her in like a kind of a witch motif. But, like, honestly, when she goes into combat, no,
yeah, no, I've seen also the uniforms and like other stuff. They're wearing firefighting gear.
Yeah. And
that said, I have also seen screenshots of, as you described, that character in like a sports bra, abs out, just looking good. But I mean, that happens sometimes. Sure, you could take the uniform off sometime.
Yep. Let's see here: Grand Blend, Circuit Scientific Accelerator, Fire Force. Fruits Basket. Yeah, I think that's actually the 4 that I watched. Sketchy McGinnis.
Also, I think I've covered all the
anime I'm watching right now.
It feels very, very 90s to me, the name. Fire Force. Touch My Springs. Sorry about that, guys.
I'm not entirely sure, like, let's see, what is the original? It's like NN no Shibo Tai. Fire Force, I don't think, it's not a direct translation, it's kind of a localization of it, I want to say.
Yeah, I assume it is from the way that grammatically it is, but it's probably close. Like one of the words is definitely fire or flame, and the other one is probably, in Japanese, like something way more over the top and crazy.
I think it's actually, like, if I remember, I think it means, like squad or company or something. Like, I gotta be honest,
that's a good localization, is translating as Fire Force. Because that's got alliteration.
Yeah.
Whereas something like Fire Squad would be like, are you guys trying? Is there effort being made here?
Actually, let me see here. Where is it? Yeah, NN no Shobotai. That's what it's called.
Yeah, I know that the word N in there.
Oh, it's brigade. That's what it is.
So it's literally fire brigade, which in English is a somewhat outdated and very literal term.
Yeah, like I'm looking at translations. It's been translated as Blazing Fire Brigade, Fire Brigade of Flames, Fire Force.
So there's like there's a qualifier on the fire, which is I'm also kind of glad that they dropped it.
Yeah,
it's a good. We've talked about this before. That's a good localization because it, like I said, it has the alliteration. It has like, it's compact. It has like all the effect. If it was literally translated as like Blazing Fire Brigade, that would be like, that doesn't make any sense in English. The fire is the fire blazing? Is the brigade blazing? I don't know. And like I said, a fire brigade is like actually a term you used to use for firemen, basically. So
yeah,
it would be a little weird, literally.
Yeah. So again, that's a thing, but I don't even know where I was going with this.
I don't know. We were just chatting about Fire Force. I was excited about the name Fire Force.
Oh, okay. Because you're saying it was 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's good. Like, I don't know. I think it's only been greenlit for like maybe, how long has it been greenlit for? Shit.
That is a good question.
I don't know, because I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, that's always a question with shonen manga adaptations. I assume the manga is still ongoing.
Yeah,
because of course it is.
Here. They just hit chapter 183.
That's a lot of chapters, but
yeah. Well, on the other hand, like Black Clover, was another one that actually got an extension. How? I'm not so sure. but they're only on chapter 215, and they have like over 60 episodes going, and they're actually kind of they're catching up.
See, that's the thing about My Hero. They're very smart. They've stretched out the anime adaptation over several seasons and over several years to kind of let the manga complete big arcs. So I don't know what chapter equivalent will be starting on this fall, for instance. But
let's see here. My Hero. See, here's the crazy thing. My Hero Academia is only on chapter 238, and then that's basically Black Clover has been going week for week for week. So
I don't know what they're doing there. That kind of reminds me of the thing I heard before about how One Piece was recently, which was like, we're covering less than a chapter, a 20-minute episode, because we're stretching this motherfucker out.
Adaptations are weird. I don't know the rules for how they do. Like, apparently Black Clover is popular enough that they keep pumping it out, and they don't have a lot of filler. They might have like a 1-episode filler before they get right back to everything. But again, they're actually catching up to the end. They're only like an arc or two behind the manga now. My Hero Academia, let's see here. Let's see if I can find out where Endeavor started. Trying to figure it out here. Give me a second. I have to randomly pick chapters and stuff. Oh wait, no, I'm kind of close.
He's looking at numbers.
I'm looking at numbers.
I was gonna make that a let's all go to the lobby rhyme, but I couldn't work it. Anyway. Yeah, no,
okay,
but
so I can't pinpoint it exactly, but where we're gonna start in the manga is around the chapter 130 mark. That's not the exact number, but in that area. There. So they literally have twice that. Well, not literally, but almost twice that in completed chapters.
And let me actually check really quick how many total episodes the anime is up to, because I can actually check that number somehow. Don't ask me questions. There are currently 63 episodes of that anime, and only one of them is bullshit filler.
Yeah, so they might be adapting. What they might be doing is they might be adapting more of the content in the manga to actual anime.
That's the other thing that I know for a fact about My Hero. I haven't tried reading the manga just because I really like the anime, and it's not something I feel a need to read ahead on, which is interesting because that's not how I felt about shit like Bleach and Naruto. But I do know for a fact that the anime of My Hero has fleshed out arcs that were quicker in the manga and then maybe flashback to later. Like, there were several fights in the sports festival that in the manga were originally just short cutaways. They were like a couple of panels of this happened, this person won. And then they
specifically
alluded to the impact of it later. Because, you're talking about Momo.
Yeah,
because that her quick loss was actually a big deal for her, which comes back in the temporary license exam? I think that's what that was. Yeah. So the intense training with teachers. It was whatever particular thing they were doing. But that was really impactful for her, and in the manga, the actual fight when it happens, they kind of just breeze past, and then later they're like, "Oh, that was a big deal." In the anime, they're like, you can actually, it's not a whole episode, but it's a decent chunk of an episode, and you can kind of see more of how she's thinking and feeling about it in the moment.
Oh yeah, also the work what was it? The work
the work study.
Yeah. They expanded on that bit more.
Mm-hmm. That was not bullshit filler. That was actually expanding on what characters were doing. The only thing that I say was bullshit filler was they had that weird corporate mandated episode about love or something.
Yeah, that was,
which was really weird and kind of half-assed, but it was okay because I don't know. I guess that happens sometimes. Your corporate overlords are doing a channel-wide, a network-wide push on something for some reason. Okay, sure, whatever.
Mm.
So yeah, it was awkward, but it was okay. It wasn't the worst. It just was kind of weird that it was in the flow. But they've done some really good stuff, and oh god, the animation. I'm just thinking about it. There's so many good scenes in My Hero. So many things that are iconic to me that I like to go back.
Did you know there's a Twitter called Random Sakuga that just shows anime scenes of exceptional animation quality?
I did not, but I'm going to follow that Twitter now.
Hang on, I'll give you a link because I found it randomly. I'm like, this is amazing. Let me see if I can. I'll put it in our Patreon chat so other people can look at it. See it. Well,
no. So, Axe, the episode doesn't actually talk about anything like that. It's it's kind of alluded to because there's a it's a teaching exercise, so there's a weird fake hostage scenario thing they go through with all the teachers and stuff, but it's like, oh, but it was about true love at the end, I guess, or something. It was really ham-fisted and weak, but characters were hanging out together and did funny stuff. Well, hey, I understand now why you may have seen this, because I just looked this up. Random Sakuga has two people who follow it. I know one is you, and the other is Wad Arco. So I'm like, that's probably where Lucky saw it. So yeah, I'm gonna follow this one. Yeah, obviously I'm assuming that's probably got sound, so I'm not gonna click it. But yes, there's a lot of that going on. Mm. So yeah, all right. Let's see. We're at 2:45, so we should probably wrap up anyway.
Yeah, I'm good.
So I think we'll just do that. It's also like 9:30 at night. I'm a little yawny, but already. So yeah, that's just time to wrap up. So I'll run through the whole outro and stuff. Hope you had fun this week, guys. And remember, if you like this episode and you watch it on YouTube, give it a like. Or even if you like this episode and you didn't watch it on YouTube somehow, give it a like anyway. And if you have any comments, leave them in the comment section down below. You know, we talk about it. We appreciate your feedback, and your feedback is wanted at some times. Really, it's wanted at all times, but it actually matters at specific times, like now. And of course, if you are new here and haven't already, please subscribe to our channel so you can always get our latest videos and stuff. And even if you're already subscribed, consider hitting that bell for notifications so you always know when we post a new video, because, hey, sometimes episodes are posted weird. Mm-hmm. And of course, like it says at the front of the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early, you can get them in audio format, MP3, downloadable, right away as soon as they're done audio editing, which is usually a day or two earlier than the video goes public. For as little as $1 a month, that's right. Just give me literally $1. Well, technically that would break out to, like, give me 50 cents and give Lucky 50 cents, but you know what we mean. It's just $1. And you too can access this and help support us. Make me make a third page of patron credits. Because seriously, we're at 48 right now, which is our cap. So, or 49, I don't know. I haven't looked lately. It's been a couple days since I needed to do that. Anyway, like I said, consider supporting us, do other stuff, or you can just watch us. And we will see you next week for more Let's Talk FGO. And we will also see you next week for more What's Up, probably, at a time and stuff. Alrighty. Places, times, I don't know. So yeah. Bye, everybody.